If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 51, Whispers of the Well. In the early hours of the morning, darkness enveloped the world, illuminated only by the cold moonlight casting an outline on everything below. Throughout both the new and old city of Vima, the landscape was sparsely lit, with only a few groups of guards wielding torches patrolling the streets. Unnoticed by anyone, a figure clad in dark, tight clothing emerged from the slum area. This mysterious individual wore a black kerchief concealing their face and carried a silver sword. It was none other than Wayne. Intent on uncovering the truth about the house that had captured his interest during the day, Wayne took special precautions, disguising himself and acquiring Gerald's silver sword for the task. Given that the house still belonged to the city hall, Wayne couldn't simply break in without cause. His objective was to confirm whether he could address the issues within the house discreetly. By doing so, he aimed to potentially influence the city hall's decision and, if successful, secure the house at a more favorable price. Having consumed a potion in advance, Wayne navigated through the dark environment with ease, unaffected by the lack of visibility. Stealthily advancing, he skillfully avoided the gaze of patrolling guard teams and swiftly reached his destination. The house in question was a two-story structure constructed from brick and stone, resembling a private villa. It featured both a front and backyard, encompassed by a wall exceeding 2 meters in height. However, compared to houses with their own storefronts, this particular house was situated in a relatively secluded location. Its entrance and exit were not on the main street, rather, it was positioned almost adjacent to the city wall of New Vima, separated only by a narrow passage. Wayne carefully surveyed the surroundings of the house, ensuring that no one observed his actions. Satisfied with the lack of witnesses, he utilized his strength to climb up. Following the gate's location, he effortlessly scaled the wall and gained entry. The front yard boasted a garden adorned with various flowers and plants. For aesthetic purposes, workers had constructed a wooden gazebo and a small pond within the yard. Wayne circled the garden, detecting nothing unusual. His wolf school medallion showed no signs of disturbance, indicating that there likely weren't any issues. Approaching the main entrance, Wayne attempted to open it, only to discover it was locked. Additionally, all the windows on the first floor were closed, preventing entry. However, this posed no challenge for the Witcher. After circling the house, he spotted a balcony on the second floor. The semicircular, open-air balcony sat approximately 3 meters above the ground. Formerly adorned with several pots of beautiful flowers, it might pose a significant challenge for ordinary individuals, requiring the use of a ladder. However, Wayne, in his lightly dressed state without armor, stood tall. With a swift upward motion, he jumped, and his arms securely gripped the balcony's edge. After effortlessly pulling himself up, Wayne observed that the balcony connected to the master bedroom of the house. The furniture inside was new and appeared quite upscale. It seemed likely that the previous owner had chosen to leave abruptly, leaving behind various items. However, Wayne paid little attention to these belongings. Upon entering the house, he heightened his vigilance and cautiously began exploring its interior. If the issues within were caused by mischievous spirits or non-lethal curses, resolving them would be comparatively easier. However, if it's an evil spirit, things could get a bit troublesome. Spirits, collectively categorized as a type of monster, exhibit varying degrees of strength. A potent evil spirit is capable of decimating an entire army, whereas a weaker one might struggle even to manifest. The origin of these monsters lacks a unified explanation, but most scholars and sorcerers posit that when an intelligent life form experiences extremely strong negative emotions and dies at a specific time and place, there exists a chance of it transforming into an evil spirit. Wayne meticulously searched the house for nearly an hour, navigating from the second floor to the first, from the bedroom to the kitchen, and exploring nearly every nook and cranny. Despite his efforts, he found nothing out of the ordinary. Even his Witcher senses and the medallion on his chest failed to register any anomalies, prompting a furrowed brow. This situation could be attributed to one of two possibilities: either the issue within the house was significant, surpassing his ability to detect it, or there was minimal cause for concern, and the previous buyer's experiences were likely mere accidents resulting from various coincidences. However, Wayne leaned toward the former, as he was inherently skeptical of coincidences. Despite conducting another thorough search, the house revealed no abnormalities. Preparing to extend his search to the backyard, Wayne departed the house. The backyard, in contrast to the small garden in the front yard, was more expansive. However, owing to the recent construction of the new city, these houses had not been entirely finished. Consequently, the backyard remained an enclosed wasteland. Aside from a deep well situated at the backyard's center, the rest of the area appeared quite level, lacking any discernible abnormalities. Wayne's attention was instinctively drawn to the deep well. Intrigued, he approached the well constructed of bricks and stones with a cautious demeanor. The well had a design tailored for larger families, featuring a wellhead width of approximately 1.2 meters. A wooden roof was constructed above it to shield against debris, and a fixed metal rotating rod at the wellhead controlled the rope for drawing water from below. Upon approaching the well, Wayne immediately sensed an anomaly. His keen senses detected a subtle airflow emanating from the well's mouth, caressing his skin with a gentle coolness. This contrasted with the usual nearly enclosed spaces of typical wells. Intrigued by this peculiarity, Wayne peered down from above the well. The darkness below obscured any visibility. Even with the enhancement of the cat's eye potion, he could only ascertain that the space beneath the wellhead was considerable, with discernible airflow almost a breeze. Wayne's heightened sense of hearing and touch indicated to him that this well wasn't an ordinary structure tapping into an aquifer for water through infiltration. Instead, it was directly carved from the surface rock formation, connecting to an underground river over 10 meters deep. It utilized the river water through wooden barrels, explaining the spacious area below the well and the airflow driven by the underground river. Furthermore, Wayne detected a certain monster's scent emanating from the well's mouth. While confirmation was elusive, traces of some monster's presence were undeniable. This discovery prompted Wayne to formulate hypotheses about the situation. Perhaps the underground river, linked to a mysterious location, facilitated the entry of a monster or evil spirit into the house through the well's mouth, resulting in various accidents for the previous buyer. However, the monster, for the time being, didn't pose an immediate threat. It hadn't inflicted life-threatening harm on the original buyer, whether due to incapacity or a lack of intent remained uncertain. After pondering for a few minutes, Wayne identified 3 potential solutions before him. The first method was the simplest, establishing a magic circle to seal the well's mouth. This would isolate the channel between the monster and the ground, restricting any actions it might attempt to alternative routes. The second method, albeit more foolish and traditional, involved waiting. Wayne could spend several days in proximity to the well's mouth, concealing himself. There was a chance that the monster might emerge from the well during this time. The last method was riskier, diving into the well, following the underground river to its source, and addressing the root of the problem. Fortunately, Wayne possessed the Hina talisman, enabling him to breathe underwater and swim faster. However, a crucial consideration remained whether Wayne, with his strength, could overcome the unknown monster or negotiate amicably to resolve the issue. Contemplating his options, Wayne glanced at the night sky. It was still late at night and early morning, with the moon partially set, leaving about 4 or 5 hours until dawn. While pondering, Wayne sighed. If this were a game, he might readily plunge into the well to confront the monster. Yet, in the real world, where there were no archives or respawns, Wayne recognized the need to avoid unnecessary risks. After a few more minutes of contemplation, he stood up, returned to the house, entered the room on the second floor near the backyard, sat by the window, and quietly observed the wellhead's position. His hope rested on the possibility of luck, waiting for the entity to fall into the trap it unwittingly set. Chapter 52, Unveiling the Spirit's Tale. As time passed gradually, the moonlight began to dim, casting a darkness that heralded the approaching dawn. Just as Wayne entertained the thought of an unsuccessful night, perhaps due to the attribute of luck, his keen eyes discerned a child's palm emerging from the well's mouth, reaching for its edge. Wayne's gaze locked onto the scene, confirming his earlier speculation: the monster indeed emerged from the wellhead. However, he refrained from impulsive action, opting to conceal himself in the shadows. This presented an opportunity to observe the creature's intentions. After a brief wait, a metal watering can was tossed out from the well's mouth. Subsequently, a petite being with purple skin, a wreath adorning its head, and large watery eyes crawled out. Wayne examined it closely, confirming that his initial guess was accurate: it was indeed a godling. This revelation eased Wayne's tension. Compared to demonic spirits or other monsters, godlings were known for their kindness, docility, and peaceful nature. These intelligent creatures were considered shy, hard-working beings that enjoyed tending to flowers, plants, and small animals near their dwellings. Many scholars referred to them as guardian spirits. Resembling human children in behavior and appearance, these mischievous spirits added a touch of innocence and playfulness to their character. When treated with kindness, these creatures secretly assist the locals in any way they can. Conversely, if subjected to rough treatment, they feel offended and retaliate by playing pranks and magic tricks on the locals. However, despite their helpful nature, these creatures prefer a quiet environment. As a village becomes increasingly prosperous and forgets its traditions, these beings quietly depart, migrating to more remote caves or unknown locations. Recalling the knowledge about these godlings from the books, Wayne quietly observed the actions of the godling from the second-floor window. This particular one appeared to be a young female, characterized by bluish-purple skin and adorned in a damp, unidentified animal skin coat. While seemingly unattractive to humans, exhibiting a gentle temperament, emanating an odd blend of ugliness and cuteness. Upon climbing up from the well, the godling looked around in confusion. Assured that no one had noticed her, she gingerly retrieved the previously thrown metal watering can and began murmuring an unknown spell. Harnessing the power of magic, the metal can levitated in the air, descended into the well, and then emerged once more, now filled with clean water. This display left Wayne somewhat surprised. While intelligent creatures like the godling possessed spell-like abilities, it was uncommon for juveniles to exhibit such proficiency in magic. Filled with water through this magical means, the godling displayed evident joy. Despite struggling to lift the metal watering can, she proceeded to twirl around the house, making her way from the backyard to the front yard garden. Humming peculiar tunes, the godling diligently watered the flowers and trees with the kettle. She even picked up a small shovel from the garden, working diligently to loosen the soil and fertilize the plants, resembling a hard-working little gardener. Observing this heartwarming scene, Wayne found himself stunned. The thriving condition of the garden, even after the owner's departure, was now understandable. It was tended to by someone in secret during the night. Although visually measuring only half a meter in height and possessing a slender frame, it was apparent to Wayne that this diminutive creature found joy in its labor, despite the physical strain. Despite her small stature, the godling seemed to derive enjoyment from her tasks. About an hour later, the godling darted back and forth between the well and the front yard, completing her work just as the sun was poised to rise. The petite entity wiped sweat from her forehead, meticulously returned the used tools to their places, and appeared ready to depart. Observing the godling holding the metal watering can, turning her head multiple times with each step, and reluctantly making her way toward the well, Wayne couldn't help but smile. Silently descending from the second floor, he concealed himself in a corner outside the house. Only when it walked past him did he lightly cough and ask, "Hey! What's your name, little one?" Wayne's voice audibly startled the godling. Trembling at the unexpected words, she took 2 or 3 steps back, inadvertently dropping the metal watering can. Her large, watery eyes displayed a mixture of horror, and her entire body quivered. Witnessing her reaction, Wayne stepped back, and raised his hands in a reassuring gesture, indicating no intention of harm. Despite his harmless appearance, the godling remained considerably afraid of humans. Wayne, understanding this, took precautions not to provoke her. In response to her fear, she reached for a colorful conch hanging on her chest and lightly blew into it. Wayne watched with surprise as Godling's body gradually became transparent, ultimately vanishing directly before his eyes. While an ordinary person might panic, thinking the little Godling had genuinely disappeared, Wayne's medallion and keen senses indicated that she likely employed some form of illusion to conceal her figure. Her body remained present, unseen, in front of him. The most conspicuous evidence lay in the small footprints left by her in the backyard's grass as she moved. Chuckling, Wayne observed the path of the footprints and spoke kindly. "Don't worry, little one. I'm a witcher, but I harbor no malicious intent. I simply came here and wanted to chat with you." The term witcher seemed to capture the godling's attention. She halted, and a silence lingered in the air for about 10 seconds. A childlike voice emanated from the surroundings. "Witcher? Is that the kind of person whose job is to kill evil monsters? I've read about these stories in books." After pondering for a moment, Wayne neither affirmed nor denied the statement but offered an explanation. "Yes, but a person's occupation doesn't determine their morality. Even witchers can be bad. Some might indiscriminately kill innocent people, not just evil monsters." There was a brief pause in the godling's voice, followed by a question. "You mentioned wanting to talk, witcher. What do you want to talk about?" The godling appeared quite intelligent, even surpassing human girls of the same age. Intrigued, Wayne responded. "I heard that the owner of this house endured various mischief, and nightmares every night, and suffered injuries as a result. This is a human house. Why are you doing this? Why are you driving them away?" Upon hearing Wayne's words, she promptly refuted the accusation. No, I didn't do it. My brother, Fitz, did. He believes that these humans disturbed the goddess's altar. He insists on driving them away, otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the goddess. Continuing, she explained further. My father tried to stop him, but my brother is too stubborn to heed our father's advice. Those humans were quietly driven away by him. Wayne was taken aback upon hearing the words. It appeared that his earlier assumption was incorrect. The issue at hand wasn't solely the work of a solitary godling but rather an entire family of these godlings, with the involvement of a goddess. Which goddess is it, little one? Wayne inquired. Is the altar of the goddess located nearby? She seemed quite innocent. After contemplating for a few seconds, she responded without concealment. It's the goddess of the lake. The altar that our family has worshipped for generations is in the cave below this house. You humans build big houses on it, make all kinds of noise every day, drive away the surrounding creatures, and have affected the peace of the goddess. That's why my brother is so angry and wants to drive away the people in this house. Chapter 53, Lala. Upon hearing the name Goddess of the Lake, Wayne experienced a moment of astonishment before recalling the location of the house. Situated just beyond the city wall, it was separated by a mere distance from the shores of Lake Vima. Wayne hypothesized that the underground river beneath the well likely connected to the lake beyond the city. Lake Vima's shore was renowned as the site where the legendary goddess of the lake performed miracles. The lake housed not only an altar dedicated to the goddess but also an underwater city, previously inhabited by humans. A popular legend says the city used to be inhabited by humans, the ancestors of the people of murky waters, but was submerged by the gods angered by the debauchery of its citizens. In the city's depths lurked an evil mythical entity known as the malevolent god Deon. In the Witcher game series, Geralt, the White Wolf, displayed noble conduct by aiding the goddess of the lake in defeating the evil god Deon. As a reward for his actions, he was blessed by the goddess and bestowed the title the Knight of the Goddess of the Lake. Additionally, he received a potent artifact sword named Erendite. Although Geralt temporarily lost the artifact while battling a dragon, the goddess of the lake reappeared during his time in Toussaint, returning the significant weapon to him. This artifact held great importance to Geralt, emphasizing the pivotal role of the White Wolf as the sword of destiny capable of changing the world. Geralt, considered as the sole Witcher capable of resolving the White Frost crisis, believed in his role as the world's harbinger of change. In essence, the goddess of the lake represented a benevolent deity advocating the 5 virtues of knights. Legends of her grace and divine deeds abounded throughout the world, contributing to her revered status. Wayne's mind raced with thoughts that flickered through his consciousness. He directed his gaze towards the location where the little godling was and spoke with a gentle tone. I trust you, little one. My name is Wayne. Can you tell me your name? Upon hearing this question, the godling appeared somewhat shy. It seemed that not many people in this world had inquired about her name. Over the centuries, the number of these godlings had dwindled, making them endangered beings. After a brief silence, the godling spoke in a hesitant voice. My name is Lala. Wayne smiled, attempting to convey the friendliness in his voice, and responded. Nice to meet you, Lala. I'd like to discuss something with you. May I? As if sensing Wayne's amiable demeanor, the location where the godling was trembled for a moment, and Lala's figure reappeared. With her big watery eyes, she inserted a finger into her mouth, tilted her head, and questioned with a hint of doubt. Do you need help with anything, Wayne? In his heart, Wayne appreciated the kindness of the godling. Considering his words carefully, he explained. It's like this, Lala. This house will soon become mine. I hope to live in peace with you. Since I have tasks to perform, I may often be away from home. At those times, could I ask you to watch the house for me? Lala was taken aback by these words. The straightforward godling couldn't comprehend Wayne's intentions and remained unaware of the potential sinister nature of human beings. Lala pondered for a moment, finding a sense of happiness at the prospect of freely staying in the house with the owner's permission. However, recalling her father's teachings, she responded with a tinge of frustration. Although I really want to promise you, Wayne, my father doesn't allow us to have too much contact with humans. I need to go back and ask for his opinion. Wayne wasn't surprised by this response. While he desired to establish a positive connection with the godlings and potentially gain unexpected benefits, he understood that there might be reservations from Lala's father. Wayne nodded, offering a reassuring smile. That's okay, Lala. You can go back and ask your father's opinion. However, you can tell him that I am a witch-herder with no ill intentions toward you, and I also hold great respect for Her Majesty the Goddess of the Lake. If you assist me with my house, I will compensate you. Compensation. Lala tilted her head, opened her large eyes, and asked with some confusion, "What's compensation, Wayne?" Wayne chuckled, adopting a tempting tone. "The compensation is this: if you help me look after the house, I will give you a reward. When you desire something that only human beings possess, I can consider it a reward and give it to you." As the most curious godling, Lala became immediately intrigued upon hearing that Wayne could offer her something unique to humans as a reward. Lala twirled her fingers, gazing at Wayne with watery eyes, and replied, "Even though I really want the kind of reward you mentioned, Wayne, I still have to go back and ask my father." Wayne nodded without further comment, issuing a gentle warning. "No problem, Lala. Don't rush to answer me. I will always welcome you. However, before I move in, it's better for you not to show up during the day. If you are seen by other humans, you might be in danger." Lala acknowledged with a nod, then proudly exhibited the colorful conch on her chest, declaring, "I know, Wayne. However, I have a treasure bestowed upon me by the goddess that can protect me from human harm." After saying this, Lala touched the wreath on her head and added with some regret, "It's getting late, Wayne, and I have to go home. Nice to meet you. Goodbye." Wayne nodded, realizing that dawn was approaching, and he made his way back through the early morning darkness. "See you next time, Lala." In the following days, Wayne refrained from hastily going to the city hall to complete the formalities. While he had largely resolved the issue in the house, acting too quickly might raise suspicion at the city hall. He understood that the people there were not fools, and there was a chance they could exploit the situation to cause unnecessary trouble. So, accompanied by Gerald, Wayne arrived at the hotel to meet the affluent businessman, Larden. Before parting ways, Larden had mentioned a commission that required Wayne and the others' attention. With some free time on his hands, Wayne decided to investigate the matter and see what trouble awaited. "Welcome, my friend. How have you been in Vima City?" Larden greeted them warmly at the hotel, embracing Wayne and Gerald. He proceeded to order a lavish lunch for the trio. Seated around the table, the three engaged in casual conversation about Vima City's gossip while waiting for their meal. Noticing that the food was yet to be served, Wayne seized the opportunity. He reached into his pocket, retrieved a Gwent card, and suggested to Larden with a smile, "My friend, we still have some time before getting down to business. How about a game of Gwent?" Larden's smile faltered briefly upon hearing the proposal. Having witnessed Wayne's prowess in the significant Gwent game in Floating Harbor, he hesitated to engage in a match. Larden was contemplating a polite refusal when he observed Gerald, whose expression also appeared somewhat rigid. On the spot, Larden had a change of heart and remarked, "You're absolutely right, my friend. If you have the time, why not indulge me in a few games with Gerald? You could also share your superb Gwent card skills with us. I'm sure a noble person like yourself wouldn't decline such a request." Wayne, sensing that Larden might shy away from another Gwent match, expressed mild disappointment and remarked casually, "I do know a few Gwent tricks, but my consistent wins are mainly attributed to the favor of the goddess of luck." He then proposed a future endeavor, saying, "By the way, when I have some free time, we could organize a Gwent card tournament in Vima. What do you think? It's a highly profitable venture. Given my skills, you can put all the chips on me, and we stand to make a substantial amount of money." Larden's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm upon hearing this proposal, and he responded with a hearty laugh, "Actually, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I wasn't sure how to approach you." Wayne assured him, "No problem. When you have the time, let's devise a solid plan and rake in the profits together." Chapter 54, Dwarf Blacksmith. Although Wayne regretted not being able to win some coins from Larden through a Gwent card match, he had significantly influenced Gerald's card skills with the cards he generously provided. With a set of sponsored Gwent cards, the White Wolf had become quite the master of Gwent. The two engaged in several rounds, their heated competition continuing until the served food nearly grew cold. Despite some unsatisfied intentions, they eventually concluded their match. Gerald, having a bit more luck, emerged victorious, winning over a dozen orens and a relatively common card from Larden, leaving the wealthy businessman somewhat frustrated. Post-lunch, the plump businessman wiped imaginary sweat from his forehead, smacked his lips, and expressed, Ah! Ever since I tasted Wayne's bear paw last time, these rough foods are hard to swallow. I wonder when I'll have the chance to savor such deliciousness again. Wayne, understanding Larden's exaggeration, maintained a friendly attitude toward the influential businessman in Vima. He was aware that, a decade later, Larden would even become the behind-the-scenes benefactor for Princess. Unconcerned, Wayne valued his amicable relationship with the businessman. Smiling, Wayne assured, "It won't take long, Larden. In a few days, after I move to my new house, I plan to invite friends for a celebration dinner. I extend a sincere invitation for you to join the festivities. I'll personally cook and prepare a table of delicious food for the occasion." Upon hearing this, Larden displayed a surprised smile in agreement. "Great, Wayne. I will definitely be there on time for the dinner. I really look forward to that day coming soon." It had to be said that Larden's expression was so natural and sincere that if Wayne didn't know his true face, many people might be deceived by him. Similarly, Gerald, although not considering Larden a friend yet, seemed to have a good impression of this generous and kind businessman. After some enjoyable moments, the trio finally delved into discussions about the commission. Larden's request wasn't overly troublesome. He had invested a substantial amount to purchase a large forest on the outskirts of Vima City from the city hall, intending to establish a lumber camp. However, venturing into primeval forests for development often meant encountering various wild monsters. According to Larden, 3 loggers had been injured recently, hampering work efficiency. To remedy this, he sought to hire a witcher to eliminate the monsters in the forest, ensuring the lumber camp's smooth operation. Upon further discussion, Wayne realized that this was a long-term and relatively leisurely job. He would only be called in when monsters were present, allowing him to engage in other activities during downtime. The position offered a fixed weekly salary, making it an appealing prospect for a witcher. After consulting with Gerald, they decided to accept the commission. Given that a lumber camp didn't require 2 witchers at all times, they planned to take shifts at the camp, allowing one of them to remain in Vima to handle city commissions. After discussing the commission, Wayne brought up another matter with Larden. "Larden, you have a lot of friends and connections in Vima City. Can you introduce me to a highly skilled blacksmith? I want to ask him to help me build a piece of equipment." Larden paused upon hearing the request. He looked up at Wayne, took more than 10 seconds to ponder, and then replied. "You are really lucky, Wayne. I doubt whether the goddess of luck is truly looking after you. Just last month, I recruited a group of dwarven lumberjacks. The foreman's father, Master O'Henry, is a highly skilled dwarf blacksmith. It is said that he is also quite a famous weapon master among the mountain dwarves in Mahakam. I just got acquainted with him yesterday. We had a drink and made some friends." The fat businessman tapped the table with his jeweled ring, pondered for a few seconds, and continued. "But you also know that most dwarves have peculiar personalities. Master O'Henry is not short of money. If you want him to forge a weapon for you, I don't know if he is willing. I can write you a letter of introduction, but you'll have to handle the rest yourself." Wayne was satisfied with the response, expressing his gratitude. "Thank you, Larden." Leaving the hotel, the two headed back to the Fox Tavern. Gerald, curious, asked. "Wayne, are you looking for a dwarf blacksmith to make any equipment?" Wayne turned to look at Gerald, patted the steel sword on his waist, and replied. "You should be able to guess it. I only have a steel sword now, and I don't have a silver sword. Every time I fight, I have to borrow your silver sword. In case of an emergency, isn't that very dangerous?" Gerald nodded in understanding but expressed surprise. "Have you saved enough money? My master-level silver sword was forged in Novigrad. It cost me almost 1,000 orens. It took me 3 years to save that much money." In fact, Wayne is a little hard to explain this problem. Recently, he has to buy a new house and forge a silver sword. These 2 expenses are not small sums. He and Gerald have been staying together, and there is not even a good excuse for the source of the money. So Wayne could only say vaguely. "When I defeated the Wild Dog Gang last time, I made a small fortune there. Although it is not enough to pay these 2 expenses, I will find a way when the time comes." Seeing this, Gerald didn't ask any more questions, but patted Wayne on the shoulder. The money on his body was only enough for expenses. After going to the Queen of the Night clubhouse last time, he had already spent a lot of money, and there was no extra money to lend to Wayne. After returning to the Fox Tavern, before Gerald could sit still, Jaskier ran over again. He winked in Geralt's ear and said a few words, and the two hooked up and went out again. Wayne probably guessed what the two of them wanted to do, and probably wanted to rescue those wandering women again. Since Wayne rejected their invitation several times, when the two went to that kind of place, they didn't invite him anymore. Wayne wasn't even interested in these vulgar fans. It happened that Geralt wasn't by his side this afternoon, so he could feel at ease and prepare to open another wave of treasure chests. Whether it is forging a silver sword or buying a house, a large amount of money will be needed. He now has less than 1,000 orens in total, and it is estimated that he will need to prepare at least 3,000 orens to cover the expenses of these two things. Greeted Old Yuk standing behind the counter. Wayne was about to go upstairs to open the chests. Old Yuk suddenly said, "Hey! Little bastard, I've sold out of your stuff, remember to come to me to get the money." Hearing this, Wayne looked back at Old Yuk, and couldn't help but feel a little bit emotional. A local snake is a local snake, and within a week, all the stolen goods were disposed of. He was in need of money right now, and it was a timely gift. He thanked Old Yuk a few words, but Old Yuk didn't appreciate it, but snorted and said, "Humph! It will be the anniversary of your mother's death soon. Remember to donate a sum of money to the Church of Militia and pay homage to your mother. Anyway, if she hadn't insisted on sending you to become a witcher, maybe you would have died long ago." Chapter 55, Fortune Unveiled. Wayne, despite not being Martha's biological son, feels a deep sense of duty to worship and fulfill his obligations to his mother. Wayne sought information about the anniversary of her death from Old Yuk and returned to his room. The 2 horses acquired from the Wild Dog Gang were sold through the black market, with Old Yuk advising him to pay a handling fee of 200 oren to maintain connections and ensure discretion. However, Old Yuk, though somewhat arrogant, didn't take advantage of Wayne. He efficiently disposed of other farm property, which he generously handed over to Wayne. With money and goods settled, the transaction was completed. Receiving the money promptly, Wayne did not refuse it. Before opening the treasure chest, his total property amounted to nearly 2,000 oren. Wayne took off his equipment, placing it on the table alongside the money in his room. Despite not being superstitious, Wayne took a hot bath, changed into clean clothes, and offered prayers to the gods. Finally, he sat cross-legged on the bed, prepared to open the treasure chest officially. He had a significant number of ordinary treasure chests and 2 expert-level treasure chests in the system. 101 ordinary ones and 1 expert-level chest were opened in the Elven ruins. After contemplating for a moment, Wayne took a deep breath and decided to start with the expert-level chest, which had a slightly higher chance of yielding valuable equipment. Ding! The treasure chest opened. Obtained, 124 pieces of oren, a small magic storage bag. Wayne was startled as the system sound rang out, announcing that he had acquired 124 pieces of oren along with a small magic storage bag. The bag materialized beside him, resembling a money bag slightly larger than a fist, and a cloth bag sewn from purple silk, adorned with magical inscriptions. Upon hearing the system prompt, Wayne couldn't believe his luck. He opened his mouth in amazement and exclaimed, "What the hell? Is it the lucky attribute at work, or has the goddess of luck favored me so much?" The term magic storage bag struck a chord in Wayne, as it was a common item in many magical worlds. Intrigued, he examined the purple magic pattern storage bag closely. His excitement was tinged with disappointment after a thorough inspection. While the bag could store small items, it had limitations. Despite its palm-sized exterior, the internal space was only about a quarter of a cubic meter, and it couldn't be deformed at will. The depth was a mere 1 meter, preventing even Wayne's steel sword from fitting entirely. Nevertheless, the storage bag had a redeeming quality. It eliminated the weight effect for items placed inside, allowing for the storage of gems or gold coins without affecting the bag's weight. This solved Wayne's problem of carrying heavy purses filled with gold coins, providing a convenient solution for his newfound wealth. However, the magic storage bag turned out to be a simple, ordinary magic item with no concept of ownership identification. It seemed that anyone could retrieve the items inside, emphasizing the need for careful safeguarding. Wayne, mindful of the potential risks, set the storage bag aside and took a calming breath. With the new storage bag, Wayne could now secure his wealth without concerns about exposure. Eager to make the most of his newfound resources, he decided to open all the treasure chests at once. Ding! Opening ordinary treasure chest *100. Obtained, oren 1033 pieces. Ding! Opening ordinary treasure chest *100. Obtained, Oren 1075 pieces. Ding! Opening ordinary treasure chest * 100. Obtained, Oren 1143 pieces. However, Wayne's luck appeared to be dwindle as he consecutively opened several chests without obtaining anything beyond coins. While the ordinary treasure chests only had a lesser chance of yielding items, getting nothing for consecutive chests was considered particularly unlucky. Despite this setback, Wayne remained unperturbed, recognizing the value of the magic storage bag he had acquired, even if the subsequent chests yielded no additional items. The system chimed again, ding! Ordinary treasure chest opening * 100, and this time, Wayne received 998 pieces of Oren along with a substantial gift pack of snacks. As the system message concluded, a money bag and a sizable cardboard box, approximately a quarter of a cubic meter in size, materialized on his bed. Wayne stood in silence for several seconds before proceeding to open the cardboard box with a perplexed expression. Inside, he discovered 50 cans of mineral water, 50 cans of assorted beverages, 100 bags containing various potato chips and shrimp crackers, 200 bags of spicy sticks in all varieties, and 60 to 70 bags of candies, chocolates, and biscuits. The contents filled the massive box to its brim. Examining the characters on the packaging, Wayne recognized them as snacks from his own country before his transversion to this world, and his heart swelled with emotion. Despite seldom indulging in these junk foods during his training in his previous life, the classic tastes held sentimental value, deeply ingrained in the memories of every food enthusiast's childhood. Nostalgia overwhelmed him, prompting Wayne to open a can of beverage and pick up a pack of spicy sticks. Slowly savoring the flavors of the past, he took his time, spending a good 10 minutes indulging before sighing contentedly and settling back onto the bed. In the final unboxing, Wayne abandoned any reservations, choose to open all the remaining boxes at once. Ding! Opening ordinary treasure chest * 103, expert treasure chest * 1. Obtained, 1,323 pieces of Oren, 5 bottles of invisible potion. Invisibility potion, a high-level potion from the world of Faerun, refined by a high-level alchemist, can make the host enter an invisible state after taking it. The duration is 3 minutes, and the interval between taking it is 1 hour. In comparison to the magic storage bag, the invisibility potion seemed mediocre, serving as a consumable with a short duration. While it could be useful in emergencies, its limited duration diminished its appeal. Wayne pondered whether the potion's effectiveness would be influenced by the dimeridium. This remained uncertain, but based on his experience of opening expert treasure chests twice, he considered himself remarkably lucky. All the expert-level treasure chests had yielded valuable items, defying the odds of less than 5.00% of obtaining any useful equipment besides Oren. While Wayne couldn't be certain if his luck was influenced by the 4 points from the Gwent card, he resolved to prioritize improving his Gwent card's level. In the world of The Witcher, the game of Gwent, this skill held significant benefits, generating income, providing entertainment, and facilitating character leveling. Wayne deemed it a magical skill with vast potential. Chapter 56, Franchesca. While Wayne was immersed in the thrill of opening treasure chests, a mysterious visitor arrived from afar at the elven ruins in Kaer Morhen. In a room located 100 meters away from the non-human camp, 4 incense oil lamps cast their flickering glow in the corners, and an elaborate magic circle, drawn with expensive magical materials, adorned the center of the space. At an indiscernible moment, the static magic top in the center of the circle began to rotate slightly, and an invisible magical force caused the entire circle to emit a subtle glow. With a thud, the space above the spinning top tore open, giving birth to an oval-shaped, void-like portal. After a few seconds of oscillation, the portal stabilized, and a slender figure adorned in a long white dress and purple cloak, face concealed by a hood, stepped out. As the woman surveyed her surroundings with her enchanting eyes, she closed them after confirming her position. Her lips moved imperceptibly, and an unseen force emanated from her. Simultaneously, 100 meters away from the magic circle, Toruville, engrossed in camp affairs, suddenly froze, and the metal bracelet adorning her wrist trembled ever so slightly. The alteration in this magical accessory informed the female elf leader that the awaited person had finally arrived. Certainly, in the dimly lit room, a graceful figure stood patiently waiting. Upon seeing the beautiful female elf by the portal, Toruville promptly lowered her head, knelt on one knee, and spoke with reverence. "Master Franchesca, welcome. How may I serve you?" Franchesca, the female elf with long dark golden hair, captivating blue eyes, and an overall regal air, revealed a charming smile. Extending her delicate arms, she gently lifted Toruviel, saying, "No need for formalities, Toruviel. How are our people faring? I've brought supplies to sustain you for 2 months. They are placed just opposite the portal. Feel free to send someone to retrieve them." Toruviel, expressing deep gratitude, felt her sincerity deepen. The refugees owed their secure existence in the elven ruins to the support of Lady Franchesca. Without the provisions provided by the sorceress, this assembly of the elderly, weak, women, and children would find it impossible to endure a winter in the desolate forest. In recognition of this, Toruviel rose, bowed slightly to Franchesca, and continued. "Master Franchesca, with so many of us relying on your benevolence, we must have depleted your resources. Half a month ago, we cleared all the monsters from these ruins and amassed a considerable amount of precious metals and antiques. If you don't object, I would like to offer these findings as a token of our gratitude." Franchesca, upon hearing this proposal, displayed a hint of surprise on her countenance. She had provided Toruviel with the location of the ruins and was aware of the challenges posed by the numerous monsters within. In her understanding, even with the less than 20 warriors in the Toruviel camp, defeating these monsters would likely result in heavy casualties. Yet, Toruviel wouldn't make such a claim lightly. The elf sorceress inquired, "Toruviel, I've made preparations for quite some time, procuring numerous magic materials to aid in clearing the monsters from the ruins. I didn't anticipate you handling it on your own. Could you enlighten me on how you achieved this?" Toruviel, being forthright, immediately shared with Franchesca the details of hiring 2 witchers, Gerald and Wayne. She also mentioned the inaccessible treasure house. After listening to the account, the beautiful elf sorceress exhibited a touch of surprise in her eyes. She extended her white fingers, lightly tapped her lips, and after a few moments of contemplation, spoke. "I've heard of Gerald the White Wolf and his formidable swordsmanship, active in the north for decades. As for the half-elf witcher of the wolf school, Wayne, I'm unfamiliar with him. It seems he's a new apprentice. It's intriguing, a rare occurrence to hear of a new witcher, especially a half-elf. Your fortune is truly remarkable. Witchers are undoubtedly more adept and specialized in dealing with monsters compared to us warlocks. However, to cleanse the ruins entirely, the strength of both of them is commendable. The scarcity of witchers, with less than 20 in the entire north, explains the limited information about them." As she spoke, Franchesca retrieved a white veil from her pocket to conceal her appearance. She then offered another charming smile and remarked, "Let's go and visit the treasure house, to see what it holds. This elven dungeon belonged to an elf prince over 1,000 years ago. Perhaps there are still treasures in his vault." Toruviel had no objections to Franchesca's suggestion. The elven female sorceress was not only one of the 5 core members of the Warlock Brotherhood, the most powerful spell-casting organization globally, but also possessed elven royal blood, standing as one of the prominent figures in the elven clan. Even among the exceptionally beautiful sorceresses, Franchesca was renowned as the world's most beautiful woman and represented the elves. The two traversed most of the elven ruins and soon arrived at the treasure house guarded by the mysterious metal gate. Before Toruviel could speak, Franchesca furrowed her brow and remarked, "According to ancient texts, there should be a magic power node in this treasure house. How is it that this node has been damaged and transformed into a spatial rift? Could something have changed in the past 1,000 years?" Toruviel, faced with Franchesca's inquiry, could only shake her head, indicating her lack of knowledge. The elf sorceress pondered, furrowed her brow for several seconds, and suddenly smiled, revealing her beauty. She commented, "Nevertheless, that's acceptable. The kingdom of Kaer Morhen has consistently been harsh towards non-human races, leading to the demise of many of our people due to their despicable methods. Their king, Henselt, is a stubborn and savage bastard. He consistently dismisses the persuasions of our warlock brotherhood, displaying a repulsive attitude towards all spellcasters. He's simply an arrogant fool," Franchesca expressed disdainfully. "This spatial crack could potentially allow less potent monsters from other worlds to enter here. Currently, I'm using spells to block it. In the future, when necessary, it should serve as a tool to teach Kaer Morhen a harsh lesson. Let that bastard know that without the assistance of a warlock, their so-called human army is nothing more than lunch for those alien creatures." Toruviel, sharing the same resentment towards humans, naturally harbored no objections to Franchesca's intentions. Following Franchesca's instructions, she promptly gathered some magic materials and skillfully drew a advanced magic circle around the treasure house. As the beautiful chants of the elf sorceress resonated through the air, a potent space lock materialized around the treasure house, brought to life by Franchesca's vast chaotic magical power. At some point in the future, with the possession of the space key provided by Franchesca, not only would this space lock be openable, but creatures from other worlds connected through the crack could also be unleashed, causing considerable trouble for the kingdom of Kaer Morhen. Chapter 57, Blacksmith Shop. Observing the enigmatic magic runes hovering around the treasure house fade away, Franchesca released a soft exhale. She wiped her white palm across her forehead, though there was no actual sweat, and turned to address Toruviel. "It's all right, Toruviel. The seal is complete, and I'm going to open the treasure room now," she assured. The gate of this treasure room originally relied on a magic node for power and must be opened by a special spell by an elf warlock, so it has been well preserved for thousands of years. When those human armies attacked, they probably didn't take anything from here. If you want to open it now, I have to inject magic power into it myself. The elf sorceress explained briefly, then gracefully lifted her right hand. Her slender fingers emanated a magical glow as she traced an extremely intricate magic rune in the air, uttering a spell in the ancient elven language. Accompanying her incantation, a potent magical force was gradually infused into the metal gate of the treasure room under her manipulation. Amidst a humming sound, a rune in the ancient elven language illuminated on the metal gate of the treasure house. The continuous infusion of magic power intensified the brilliance of the magic rune. Humming persisted until Franchesca had injected enough magic power, and then, with a burst of mechanical operation, the door of the treasure house, dormant for thousands of years, officially swung open. When the dust settled and Toruviel laid eyes on the items in the treasury, she immediately covered her mouth in surprise. Illuminated by the light of several torches, 10 immense treasure chests were quietly arranged in the center of the treasury, filled with countless gold and jewels that retained their seductive luster even after thousands of years. Even a simple farmer, unaccustomed to such wealth, could imagine the immense fortune present. However, in contrast to Toruviel, Franchesca displayed no surprise at the sight of the gold. Instead, she shook her head with a sigh. For the current elves, such gold held little value. The elves' former empire possessed wealth surpassing the current human kingdom wealth. The splendor and beauty of the elven city, unparalleled compared to current human towns, couldn't withstand the onslaught of barbaric humans, leading to the elves becoming a minority race like the dwarves. In the face of violence, only violence could contend with it. Unfortunately, her kindred had grasped this truth too late. Franchesca's gaze traversed the treasure chests until she spotted numerous pieces of magic equipment adorning the walls and 4 colossal metal golems stationed at the corners. She nodded slightly and pursed her lips. Though the treasure house had been protected by magic for 1,000 years, its contents remained undamaged. The ancient magic equipment and the 4 formidable metal golems were indeed more valuable treasures. After a moment of contemplation, Franchesca turned to Toruviel and said, "Don't you have an agreement with the Witchers to give them a quarter of the spoils? Although this treasure belongs to our elves, we should wait until they arrive here next time." The next day, in the old city of Vima, Wayne stowed all his valuables into the magic storage bag, securing it around his neck for safekeeping. He only carried a small purse with dozens of orens in his waist pocket for regular expenses. As for the snacks from another world, he carefully concealed them under the bedboard, even deploying an art sign to ensure they remained undiscovered. With the magic storage bag, Wayne felt a significant improvement in his capabilities. However, this improvement wasn't in terms of physical attributes or combat skills. A Witcher's strength often relied on external tools. Swords, alchemy bombs, potions, and formidable armor and swords all played a crucial role. These tools, such as swords, alchemy bombs, and potions, were valuable but delicate materials prone to damage in battle. Ordinary Witchers could only carry a limited amount, restricting their usage. The magic storage bag addressed these issues, allowing Wayne to carry various potions, and store dozens of alchemy bombs of different types without fear of damage. This enhancement significantly bolstered his ability to confront risks, providing him with diverse solutions for emergencies. Reflecting on his good fortune, Wayne couldn't help but sigh at how quickly he acquired such a valuable piece of spatial equipment. After breakfast, instead of heading to the city hall to address the matter of buying a house, Wayne consulted a somewhat hungover Geralt for a blueprint of the Wolf School's master silver sword design. The item in question wasn't a finished product but a hand-drawn replica based on Geralt's memory. It encompassed the sword's design concept, equipment appearance, and material configuration diagram. Due to strict requirements, it had to be executed by a master blacksmith with exceptional skills. While the master-level silver sword wasn't the pinnacle weapon in the Wolf School, it was more cost-effective, had more accessible materials, and was easier to maintain compared to the master-level equipment. This made it more suitable for everyday tasks. Wayne didn't want to find himself in a situation where the reward for using a master-level weapon far exceeded the repair fee after slaying a few monsters. Leaving the Fox Tavern, he followed the address given by Revarden for more than 10 minutes until he reached a dwarf blacksmith shop in Vima. The shop was still open, and 3 sturdy dwarves, dressed in thin clothes, toiled with large hammers, forging iron objects on the anvil next to the stove. Judging by their shapes, these items were likely knives and agricultural tools used by civilians. This was customary in the Middle Ages. Unlike in games, blacksmiths primarily crafted tools such as iron pots, kitchen knives, and hoes for farmers and residents. Confirming the address, Wayne, wearing a friendly smile, singled out a young dwarf who appeared the most approachable among the 3 and inquired, "Is Master O'Henry present? I was recommended by his friend, Leverden, and I wish to commission him to create some equipment." The young dwarf, momentarily taken aback by Wayne's question, scratched his hair with fingers covered in iron filings and then replied in a naive manner, "Henry played Gwent all the night. After winning our wages, he drank half a barrel of dark beer. He probably hasn't woken up yet. However, getting him to craft equipment for you is nearly impossible. The items crafted by him are never for sale, he only creates equipment for individuals he chooses." Even if many dwarf apprentices pleaded with him, he never agreed. Upon hearing this, Wayne frowned, realizing that obtaining a master-level silver sword from this master was indeed a formidable challenge. Nevertheless, since he was already here, there was no reason to back down. Regardless of the outcome, he had to give it a try. Maintaining a friendly smile, Wayne handed the young dwarf the letter of introduction given by Levarden and said, "No problem. I'll wait here. Once Master O'Henry wakes up, please pass this letter to him for me. Also, let him know I'm a witcher seeking to forge a master-level sword. We can discuss the terms, no matter what they are." With that, Wayne patted the young dwarf on the shoulder and whispered in his ear, "My friend, you can also put in a good word for me. Regardless of the outcome, I'll invite you to the best tavern in the city, and we'll drink until you're satisfied." Upon hearing Wayne's promise of being invited to the best tavern and drinking to satisfaction, the young dwarf's eyes lit up. He nodded eagerly and said naively, "All right, you wait here. Actually, Master O'Henry is my uncle, and I'll plead with him for you. Whether he grants me this favor or not depends on your luck." Chapter 58, O'Henry's Request. Observing the young dwarf making his way into the blacksmith's shop, Wayne couldn't help but silently commend his good fortune. It was unexpected that by randomly choosing a seemingly ordinary dwarf, he had found someone with a connection, willing to assist him, a rare stroke of luck. Instead of idly waiting for the outcome, Wayne approached the other 2 dwarves who were still engrossed in their work, carefully observing their forging process. Learning the art of forging had long been part of his plan, but finding a skilled blacksmith proved challenging due to the high cost of equipment repairs. Wayne believed that, with the system's assistance, irrespective of his innate talent, learning forging techniques would eventually lead him to become the most formidable blacksmith globally, crafting advanced equipment surpassing all others. While this process might demand considerable time and energy, the extended lifespan of a witcher made his aspirations achievable. Approximately 10 minutes later, Wayne witnessed the young dwarf emerging from the blacksmith's shop, sporting a distinct slap mark on his face but a cheerful smile. Approaching Wayne, he chuckled and said, "Witcher, you've got some luck. My uncle asked me to bring you to him. By the way, I'm Andrew. Remember to buy me a drink when you're done. I'll be at the Kingfisher Tavern, they say the spirit there are top-notch." Wayne nodded, returning the smile, and replied, "Of course, Andrew, my name is Wayne, and I won't forget this promise." Money was of little concern to him, and if Andrew proved to be a person worth befriending, Wayne intended to frequently invite the straightforward and honest dwarf for drinks. Perhaps it could lead to an opportunity to learn forging. The blacksmith shop was sizable, featuring a furnace and anvil at the entrance, a substantial warehouse in the yard, a coal storage shed, and living quarters for the dwarf blacksmiths. Guided by Andrew, Wayne traversed 2 courtyards before reaching the dwelling of Master O'Henry. Upon entering the yard, Wayne heard a robust voice bellow, "Andrew, get out of here and go to work. You've already owed me 2 months' wages for playing cards. If you're lazy, I might even ban you from drinking." Following the sound, Wayne spotted a bald dwarf, standing less than 1.5 meters tall but with muscles like cast steel. Seated on a stone pier, the wrinkles on his face were prominent, and he sported a snow-white beard tied into 3 braids. Smoking a pipe, he impatiently scrutinized Wayne. Upon hearing the reprimand, the robust Andrew, who appeared quite strong, gestured at Wayne like a little rabbit encountering a big bad wolf, reminding him not to forget the promised treat. He hastily made his exit. Master Blacksmith O'Henry cast a disdainful look at his nephew's retreating figure, snorted, and then directed his attention at Wayne, asking bluntly, "Half-elf witcher, this is the first time I've seen you. Which school of witcher you are from?" After contemplating for a moment, Wayne responded truthfully, "I come from the wolf school, Master O'Henry." The dwarf master blacksmith bit his pipe, exhaled a puff of smoke, took a couple of seconds to reflect, and then sighed as he spoke. "I haven't heard of it, but 30 years ago, I met a witcher from the Griffin School, and he commissioned me to create armor. It took half a year just waiting for him to collect the materials. That set of master-level armor not only requires the high skills of craftsmen but also requires the right temperature of the furnace. For this reason, I had to spend a lot of money to upgrade the furnace to meet the requirements of that set of armor. When the armor was finally finished, I couldn't help but burst into tears. It was the most satisfying piece of work when I was young." Having said that, O'Henry looked at Wayne and asked, "So, Witcher, what piece of equipment do you want to build? Are the blueprints ready?" Wayne nodded, then took out the blueprint copied by Gerald from his arms, handed it to the dwarf blacksmith, and said, "The drawing is here, Master O'Henry. If you need it, my companion still has a finished product for your appreciation." The master dwarf blacksmith took the drawing, snorted disdainfully, looked at it for about half a minute, and said, "To tell you the truth, that human businessman has no face with me, and I have no friendship with you. However, since you are a half-elf and a witcher, I can give you 2 choices. The first one, you prepare the materials yourself, I can help you finish this master silver sword. However, meteorite iron, demeritium metal, and moon dust, as required in this blueprint, are all quite rare materials. You can go to the market to try your luck and see if you can buy them. As for the second option, as long as you get me something, I can prepare these materials for you, and you don't even need to pay the wages. Of course, this item is also quite rare. I have approached many of my contacts, but there is no way to buy it. There is a very old red wine in Toussaint. As long as you help me get a bottle of this fine wine, I'll help you for free." Hearing these 2 choices, Wayne couldn't help but frown a little. He didn't know much about the material of the sword or the red wine of Toussaint, and he didn't dare to say which choice was easier. So, he considered the sentence for a while and said in a compromised way, "Master, whether I choose the first option or the second option, you still need to complete this work. How about, you start forging now, and I will collect those materials and things. No matter which one I have completed, you will not suffer a loss." Master O'Henry thought for a while, felt that this was indeed the case, snorted, and said, "Come on, smart kid." The dwarf licked his lips and added, "In fact, I prefer you to choose the second option." Wayne nodded with a smile. In fact, he was also inclined towards the second option. Being able to establish a good relationship with a master dwarf blacksmith is a good thing for him and even for the entire wolf school of witchers. Master O'Henry is a very straightforward person. After negotiating terms with Wayne, he was driven out of the blacksmith shop without extra greetings. In order to fulfill the blacksmith's request, Wayne didn't want to stay any longer. After leaving the blacksmith shop, he immediately went to find the person with the most connections he knew so far, the rich businessman Larden. As a businessman from the south, he naturally has more channels than northern businessmen to obtain Toussaint's fine wine. Wayne's luck is not bad, Larden's house hasn't been built yet, and he happens to be resting in the tavern today. After knowing that Wayne visited him, the fat businessman received him very warmly. But this time, there was a request. Wayne took the initiative to pay the bill in advance and ordered a bottle of expensive red wine, which Larden did not refuse. After the food and drink were served, the two chatted while drinking. Before Wayne could bring up the topic of Toussaint wine, Larden took the initiative to ask, "Has Master O'Henry agreed to your request, Wayne?" Wayne didn't beat around the bush, he told what happened in the morning, and at the same time asked sincerely, "Larden, do you have a channel to buy that wine? Or is there a channel to buy meteorite, moon dust, and demeritium metal?" After hearing the words, after thinking about it for a few seconds, Larden shook his head regretfully and said, "Sorry, Wayne, all I do is buy and sell bulk raw materials, such as those rare forging materials, which are not within my network." He pondered for a few seconds and said, however, if you want to buy a bottle of rare red wine, I can help. But I estimate that it will take at least 2 months from the time I send out the request, and then it will be specially transported from Toussaint. And the cost will be higher than the ones on the market. If you can accept it, I can help. Chapter 59, Kaer Morhen. It will take 2 months to transport it back from Toussaint. Wayne pondered for a few seconds, feeling that this method not only took up to 2 months, cost more money, but also owned Larden a favor in the end. It was really not worth it, and it could only be used as a last resort. Thank you for your help, Larden, but I want to go to the market first to look for the forging materials I need. I will trouble you again if necessary. Larden nodded kindly, expressing that he didn't mind. He used his thumb to turn the jewel ring on his index finger. After thinking for a while, he suddenly smiled and said, but Wayne, I did hear a gossip. 5 days from now, Tamaria's royal advisor, Kira, is planning to hold a birthday party at her home. This beautiful lady sorceress is very fond of wine and jewelry, and has a wide range of contacts. Maybe in her wine cabinet, there are a bottle or 2 of fine wine you need. If you want to try her out, I can help you get an invitation to a birthday party. Are you interested? Hearing this name, Wayne was stunned for a moment and suddenly remembered that this is the future sorceress who might become a barbecue in Novigrad. Judging from the performance in the game, this female sorceress has a good heart. She is the kind of sorceress who likes luxury, loves romance, and has a simple mind. Compared with other female sorceresses who are good at playing tricks, Kira's skills are still too shallow, and she was cheated and almost died at the hands of ordinary people. After receiving this unexpected news, Wayne once again expressed his gratitude to Larden, but he did not express too much. The sorceress is a symbol of trouble, and he has no friendship with Kira, so even if he gets in touch with her, he may not be able to achieve his goal. Therefore, this plan can only be regarded as a backup plan. After bidding farewell to Larden, Wayne left the Kingfisher Hotel. He found the dwarf Andrew again, and after making an appointment with the young dwarf for an evening drink, he asked about other blacksmith shops in Vima city. Only the peers know the peers best. It is undoubtedly very difficult for a layman like Wayne to find those 3 rare materials in such a big city. He could only rely on his newly acquainted dwarf blacksmith friend, who could provide him with some news. It's a pity that the news he got from Andrew also disappointed him. Unfortunately, my friend, dimeridium metal, also known as anti-magic metal, is not always available with blacksmiths or shops. However, 2 materials, meteorite and moon dust, are very rare and hard to come by. They are worth at least a few hundred orens. There is no blacksmith shop that always has this kind of material. Even if you want them, you need to order 1 or 2 months in advance. Whether you can buy them in the end depends on your luck. Seeing Wayne frowned, the young dwarf scratched his chin and said, however, I heard that some sorceress use these 2 materials to make magic equipment. You may ask them about it. After getting the same result, Wayne was also quite helpless. Sure enough, judging from the current situation, sorcerers have a lot of high-level resources. As the most powerful organization that has ruled the northern magic field for thousands of years, the Brotherhood is like a mountain that many people can't get around. Throughout the afternoon, Wayne did not give up and kept wandering around in various shops in Vima, but unfortunately, he still found nothing. In the end, he had no choice but to accompany Andrew to drink at the Kingfisher Tavern and then went home to rest helplessly. After all, the old city of Vima was just an inland city. In the past, it was too small and dilapidated to be considered prosperous. The merchants who came and went here were not as frequent as the capitals of other kingdoms, which caused a shortage of various supplies. Since there was no way to buy it in the market, and Wayne didn't want to wait for 2 months, he finally decided to adopt a backup plan and contact the sorceress in the city. According to the information he obtained, there are currently 3 royal advisors assisting King Foltest, namely Kaer Morhen, Tris Marigold, Furcart. Wayne, who has played games and read novels, still knows a little about Kira and Tris. But for the sorcerer Furcart, what Wayne was most impressed with was that, in the future incident, he joined the southern Nilfgaardian Empire and died. There is neither any conspicuous record, nor any special talent, nor any sense of presence. After much consideration, Wayne still decided to start with Kira. Whether he obtained the wine from her or obtained the meteorite and moon dust from her channel, it was a good result. Moreover, Wayne actually had another idea in mind. At present, the matter of the Striga in the city has gradually fermented and has become the most troublesome issue for King Foltest. As a witcher, Wayne did not intend to take the initiative to appear in front of King Foltest, nor did he plan to accept this commission proactively. Things that are easy to get are always cheap and not cherished. However, if he got involved with Temeria's royal advisors, someday, when the troubles worsened, the sorceresses might introduce him to the king. At that time, he would be able to adopt the strategy of playing hard to get, waiting for Foltest to take the initiative to invite him. Only in that way would his assistance not appear so readily available and would not be suspected. Thinking of this, Wayne took out a quill and paper and began to write a sincere letter of introduction. He also didn't plan to ask Larden for an invitation letter to the birthday party, as that would be too passive and conspicuous. A witcher should not be too high profile, as it might easily provoke the hostility of certain individuals. He intended to establish private contact with Kira first, hoping that the name of the witcher alone would pique the interest of this sorceress. That night, Kira returned to her mansion from the palace. During this time, due to the construction of the new city, not only the city hall but the entire kingdom of Temeria was quite busy. As the royal advisor to the auxiliary kingdom, she and Triss were, of course, not spared. Not only is she tasked with helping the king handle government affairs, but she is also responsible for arranging various magical defense facilities in the newly built palace and addressing supernatural events in various places. It can be said that she is very busy. However, Kira finds this kind of busyness enjoyable. She is originally the type of woman who loves luxury, power, and the respect of others. Though she has only been an advisor to the royal family for a few years, compared with the dull study life at Aretuza, this feeling of being in the spotlight and enjoying power makes Kira feel that her hard work in the past few decades has finally paid off. Master Kira, someone sent a visiting letter today, do you want to see it? Hearing the maid's inquiry, Kira was lying in the bathtub covered with rose petals, letting the warm spring water flow slowly from her smooth skin. She stretched her waist and asked lazily, whose letter is it, Maisie? If it's those merchants or rich citizens, don't bother me with it. Anyway, they are some greedy and foolish guys who don't recognize their own status and want to get a share of the new Vizima. The maid named Maisie looked at the envelope, hesitated for a second or two before saying, it was sent by a man, but the signature on the envelope is strange, Witcher Wayne. Master Kira, does the legendary Witcher really exist? Are those guys really going to steal little kids and kill them? Kira was stunned for a second or two, then sneered and said, a Witcher, it's really rare. Also, Maisie, don't believe those foolish rumors in the market. Ordinary people like you can live safely outside the city instead of being eaten by monsters, thanks to the credit of these witchers. Interesting, show me the letter. Even for me, I have only read about witchers in books. It is said that they are a group of master swordsmen who know magic tricks but have undergone mutations. Having said that, Kira subconsciously licked her lips and asked, by the way, you said a man, does he look strong? Chapter 60, Red Kite Club. Wayne didn't expect Kira's response to be so prompt, and the maid sent a reply the next day. The content of the reply letter was not as tactful and subtle as Wayne's, but it directly stated that she was interested in Wayne, the Witcher. Tonight, they agreed to have dinner together at a high-end club called Red Kite. Although surprised at the mobility of the sorceresses, Wayne did not back down as the situation unfolded. He didn't spoil the scenery and went to the meeting wearing a suit of armor, but he visited the barber shop and clothing store in the city to dress himself up. Although not accustomed to medieval men's dresses, after some grooming, he successfully transformed from a young warrior into a handsome boy with a heroic temperament. Gerald teased him, saying that his current appearance was more like the young master of some noble family than a witcher. Red Kite is a high-end club in the affluent area, providing catering, entertainment, and various services such as massage and accommodation. The clubhouse is divided into 3 floors, each with only 4 spacious boxes. The interior decoration is luxurious, equipped with more than a dozen professional servants, and special bards playing popular music. It can be considered a 5-star hotel in the medieval version. Of course, the cost here is not cheap. The patrons who frequent this place are either wealthy or influential in Vizima city. Arriving at the clubhouse 10 minutes earlier, Wayne was immediately informed by the maid waiting outside the door that Kira had already pre-booked a box. He only needed to go up and wait. There was no choice, he had to enter the pre-booked luxury box like a young man taken care of by a wealthy woman. To be honest, it was Wayne's first time in such an intimate and luxurious private club. Whether it was his illusion or not, he couldn't shake the feeling that these boxes had a luxurious and ambiguous atmosphere. After an awkward wait of 7 to 8 minutes in the box, the sound of light footsteps reached Wayne's ears. Accompanied by pleasant female laughter, a beautifully dressed woman pushed open the door and entered. She wore a red low-cut long dress, revealing her delicate collarbone and 2 white semicircles. Petite and exquisite, with short bright golden hair and a proud look in her eyes, she was none other than Kira Metz, the current advisor to the Tamarian royal family. Seeing Wayne's embarrassed expression in the box, Kira's eyes lit up, and she said with a smile, "Are you the Witcher, Wayne?" Politely inviting Kira to sit at the table, Wayne replied with a smile, "Yes, Kira, it's an honor to be invited by you to dinner." The maid serving on the side tactfully asked the chef to bring food and wine after the 2 guests arrived, then retreated outside the door, awaiting their call. Kira covered her mouth, smiled slightly, her blue eyes shining, and she asked Wayne about his experiences as a Witcher, curious like a little girl. Wayne didn't refuse, picking out some experiences that wouldn't reveal the secrets of being a Witcher and conversed softly with Kira. For instance, he shared stories about the training in Kaer Morhen, the troublemakers in the Kaedwen kingdom, the significant gambling game in Floating Harbor, and the battles with various monsters. Simultaneously, he casually conversed with the sorceress about Aretuza Academy. Despite one being a sorceress dealing with books and nobles all day, and the other being a warrior interacting with farmers and monsters daily, human curiosity, combined with Wayne's fairly good eloquence and deliberate praise of the sorceress, made the 2 individuals with entirely different experiences engage in quite a happy conversation. After a half round of drinking, Kira, who had consumed an entire bottle of expensive red wine, licked her red lips unsatisfactorily. She stroked her collarbone to her chest with her fingers, looked at Wayne with charming eyes, and said, "It was a good night, Wayne. During this time, I've been really busy. To be able to share a delicious dinner with a humorous Witcher like you is also a rare relaxation for me. But I think if you suddenly want to visit me, it's not just because you want to know me. Is there any problem you encountered? Do you need a sorceress to solve it?" Observing Kira's seductive eyes and provocative movements, Wayne, as a virgin, found it hard to bear. He coughed lightly, adjusted his sitting posture, and then said, "You are really a smart lady. I have taken the liberty to visit this time, and indeed, I have other purposes." Kira glanced at Wayne's belly, smiling even more charmingly. She looked at Wayne with seductive eyes and said meaningfully, "Come on, Wayne, I'm in a good mood today. As long as the request is not too excessive, I will consider it." Wayne pretended not to hear any other meanings in Kira's words but used a storytelling method to explain in detail the agreement he had made with the master dwarf blacksmith O'Henry. Then, he sincerely asked, "Kira, I heard that you are an elegant lady who likes to collect fine wines, so I took the liberty to come here and hope to buy a bottle of Toussaint's fine wine from you. Of course, if it's not convenient for you to give up, then I hope to buy some meteorite and moon dust from you or your sorceress friends as materials for my forging weapons." When Kira heard this, she was silent for a second or two, shaking the wine glass full of red wine in her hand with her fair fingers. Then she looked into Wayne's eyes, smiled, and said, "No problem, Wayne, I like your candid personality. Although it was only the first time we met, I think we should be able to become friends in the future. As a friend, I will give you a bottle of Toussaint's red wine for free to solve your troubles." Saying so, the female sorceress picked up the napkin on the table, wiped her red lips, and said with a smile, "But now I'm a little drunk. As a brave man, shouldn't you take the initiative to take me home?" The next morning, Wayne walked out of Kira's mansion, holding in his hand the Toussaint's red wine given to him by the sorceress, and couldn't help feeling a little emotional. The sorceresses in this period were really rich. If such a bottle of fine wine was sold in the market, it could be sold for at least 2,000 orens, which was more expensive than a good horse. But Kira gave it to him, the person she met for the first time, without blinking an eye. Of course, the main reason is that Wayne, as a Witcher, must be of value to a sorceress. Investing in a small favor in advance may lead to greater returns in the future, but this does not prevent Wayne from having a good impression on Kira. It doesn't matter how you behave, if someone really helps you, no matter what, you need to be grateful. Wayne decided that to repay the help this time, if Kira faces any difficulties in the future and requires assistance within the bounds of his principles, he will unquestionably extend a helping hand to aid the sorceress. Keeping this commitment in mind, Wayne brought the hard-won wine bottle to the master dwarf blacksmith O'Henry's blacksmith shop. As a Witcher, he was eager to possess a master silver sword of his own. Chapter 61, Banquet Invitation. The next afternoon, at O. Henry's dwarf blacksmith shop. Haha, kid, I have 3 times as many points as you, and you only have 3 cards left in your hand, ha ha ha. After finally seeing the hope of victory, the dwarf master, who had lost 6 games in a row, stroked his beard quite happily. Then he took a sip of Toussaint red wine and let out a hearty laugh. Wayne, sitting opposite him, didn't panic at all, showing a meaningful smile at the dwarf. First, he released a terrain rain to force all the siege equipment cards of both sides into one point and destroyed the pile of cards with the highest points of the dwarves. Then he took out a horn card and put it on his long-range column, directly doubling his long-range points. Finally, under the stupefied gaze of the dwarf master, Wayne took out another horn card and put it in his melee column. Just 3 cards immediately reversed the situation and successfully Wayne had won the bet. Wayne reached out to pick up his glass of red wine and took a sip comfortably. The sweet taste with a slightly smoky aroma lingered between his tongue and palate. He glanced at the huge red wine bottle and said faintly, "Master O. Henry, this wine bottle is too big, even your dwarves' throats can't fit it in." Hearing Wayne's teasing, his old bronze face couldn't help but blush. Just as he was about to say a few words to save himself, the cunning Wayne on the opposite side spoke again. "Of course, I know you are joking, Master. However, I have won the Gwent card game as agreed. I wonder if you can agree to my little request." Hearing this, O. Henry suppressed his embarrassment. Despite feeling a bit frustrated over losing the Gwent card game, he curiously asked Wayne. "It's a small matter, of course, I can promise you. But I'm a little curious. As a witcher, if you don't go outside to kill monsters for a commission, why would you think of learning forging techniques from me? Your witcher commissions can earn more than our blacksmithing." In response, Wayne picked up the master-level silver sword made by the dwarf master and pulled it out of the scabbard, revealing the gleaming blade and the exquisite, mysterious magic inscription on the sword. It took Master O. Henry 2 days and 2 nights, assisted by 7 or 8 dwarf blacksmiths, to build this sword. Just looking at its shape could make a warrior intoxicated. After a few seconds, Wayne opened his mouth and replied. "Master, this is one of my wishes. As a warrior, I hope that I can have the most powerful weapons and armor in the world, but with my character, I want to learn to build it myself. Build the strongest weapons and armor in the world." O. Henry was momentarily stunned upon hearing the words, mumbled something, couldn't help laughing, said ambition, and then adopted a serious expression, adding with a touch of disdain. "Bastard boy, I have specialized in blacksmithing for 70 years, and I dare not make such a claim, and yet you, a little brat who doesn't understand anything, dare to speak nonsense. You really don't know the heights of the sky and the earth." After a few curses, the master dwarf blacksmith lit a pipe, took a sip of the mellow tobacco, enjoyed it comfortably for a few seconds, and said, "Well, boy, I don't care about your reasons, we dwarves always keep our promises. From today, you can come to our blacksmith shop to learn forging techniques at any time. If you have any questions, you can ask me or other dwarves for advice. You don't need to be my apprentice, we don't play those fake things. If there is any good wine in the future, just bring some over and let me taste it." Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Wayne immediately complimented Master O. Henry a few times, but the dwarf blacksmith didn't appreciate it. After loudly scolding Wayne, he kicked him out of his room. Speaking of which, this Master O. Henry is really a man of temperament. A master-level silver sword of the wolf school, including wages and materials, will cost at least more than 1,000 orens. Gerald once revealed that his silver sword was forged in Novigrad with the 300 crowns he had saved for 3 years. After conversion, at the current exchange rate, 1 crown is equivalent to about 7 orens, and his master-level silver sword is worth about 1,000 orens, which is indeed the most expensive equipment for most witchers. After Master O. Henry accepted the bottle of Toussaint's red wine, he really didn't mention any remuneration and generously shared the bottle of fine wine with Wayne. This is a worthy dwarf friend, Wayne thought to himself, avoiding the crowds on the road, and soon returned to the Fox Tavern where he currently lived. As soon as he walked into the tavern, a cute-looking girl in a maid costume greeted him. She saluted Wayne with a blushing face, handed over an invitation letter timidly, and said, "Wayne, this is the birthday invitation that Lord Kira asked me to forward to you. She invites you to attend her birthday dinner in 2 days' time." Wayne reached out to take the invitation letter from the girl, looked at her with a smile, and said, "Are you feeling any better, Maisie?" The girl's face turned even redder when she heard this. She was asked by the hostess Kira to join the battlefield in the middle of the night. But because she was an ordinary human being and a virgin, she fell asleep after only persisting for less than 2 hours. When she woke up in the morning, the hostess and Wayne had already left the mansion. But the wild and strong body of the Witcher, with his boundless energy, has become a beautiful memory in her mind that will never be forgotten. She blushed and didn't dare to look into Wayne's eyes, whispering, "Thank you for your concern, Wayne, I am in good health. The invitation letter has been sent. There are still many things waiting for me to deal with at home. Please allow me to leave first." However, before she turned to leave, Wayne said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Maisie, please apologize to Ms. Kira for me. On the day of the birthday party, I have important matters to attend to and cannot attend her party. However, I will carefully prepare a birthday present for her, and I hope she can understand me." When Maisie heard this, she raised her head and looked at Wayne in surprise. The royal advisor's birthday banquet was a high-class event that many people dreamed of and wanted to participate in. Unexpectedly, the man in front of her actually refused. However, as Kira's personal maid, she couldn't change the guest's mind, so she could only reply with some regret, "I will convey it to Lord Kira, Wayne. However, I think Lord Kira is really looking forward to your arrival. If possible, please don't refuse this invitation." Wayne sighed inwardly. If it weren't for this birthday party, many high-ranking people in the kingdom would be invited to participate, and he would probably not refuse. However, so far, he is not ready to enter the vision of those big shots. He doesn't want to be too high-profile and attract attention, so he can only refuse the beauty's kindness. "Sorry, Maisie, I really have something important to attend to. Please express my sincere apologies to Kira." Seeing Wayne's sincere attitude, not pretending, Maisie gave a regretful hum and said, "In that case, I will convey your apology to Lord Kira." After finishing speaking, the girl hurriedly left this slightly chaotic slum. As soon as the girl left the tavern, Jaskier, who had been watching the show for a long time, blew a loud whistle and said in a chant-like voice, "Wayne, a ruthless witcher. How can you refuse the invitation of a lovely girl? If it were me, I would definitely let this girl fall in sweet love. Only memories as sweet as mead can answer the passion of a fair maiden." Wayne ignored the booing Jaskier but walked over to the wine table opposite Gerald, who was also watching the show, and sat down to drink a glass of cold beer. White Wolf raised his eyebrows, and a teasing smile appeared on his paralyzed face, and he said mockingly, "What's the matter, Wayne? If you regret it now, you can still chase the girl back. I didn't go back to the tavern all the last night, so I spent a good night with this girl." Wayne rolled his eyes, without explaining that he had fought 2 women, one of whom was a sorceress. He placed the master silver sword cast by Master O'Henry in front of Gerald, took 2 half-metal half-wood light crossbows from his belt, put them on the table together, and said, "My silver sword has been forged. These 2 crossbows are the prizes I won from a master blacksmith. You can choose one as a gift from me." The White Wolf raised his eyebrows. Instead of looking at the crossbow, he reached out to pick up the master-level silver sword, pulled out the blade, watched it carefully, and couldn't help but sigh, "Exquisite workmanship, excellent materials, really a good sword. This must be the work of a master weapon forging. You really surprised me, Wayne. This sword will cost you at least 1,000 orens. Where did you get so much money?" Wayne shrugged, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and said with a little pride, "Not a penny, Gerald. You may not believe it, but I won it with my little brother." Chapter 62, Peter's Offer. In the world of men, being able to win a sword through the little brother is definitely something that one can be proud of for a lifetime. Wayne briefly showed off the experience of last night with his good brother. He didn't tell Gerald about Kira's identity but simply described Kira's beauty and enthusiasm, Maisie's shyness, and the big battle that lasted all night. Then, under the envious eyes of Gerald and Jaskier, he drank the cold beer in the glass and said, "It's all trivial. I'm still inferior to you in this respect. I heard that in the brothel circle of Vima, there is a legend about a white-haired macho. I heard that there are girls who are willing to receive you without paying." After praising Gerald, Wayne's expression became more serious, and he said, "By the way, Larden's commission will start the day after tomorrow, right? Let me be on duty in the first week. It's just right. I want to try this sword." Of course, he also had another purpose, which was to avoid Kira's birthday party by executing the commission. Gerald took a sip of beer, nodded, and said, "Okay, then leave it to me in the second week. It just so happens that I just received a commission. Some monsters were found in the sewers of Vima New City. I went to investigate yesterday, and I think the monster is a kikimora. To be honest, the sewers in the new city are intricate and complicated, and no one has managed them for thousands of years. Now that the construction of the city has made such a big noise, I won't be surprised no matter what kind of monsters appear in it. Even in the future, after the new Vima is built, the city will not be peaceful." Wayne nodded. Knowing the future history, he knows better that Vima is indeed a city full of disasters. 10 years later, due to the influence of the wild hunt brought back by Ciri through the Middle Ages, a plague will break out and cause the death of a large number of residents. Coupled with the impact of various wars, coups, and other man-made disasters, perhaps 20 years later, the surviving residents of this city may be less than half of the original. The two were chatting when a young man in sackcloth walked into the tavern. He first came to the counter, chatted with Old Uke, and then found Wayne's table under the guidance of Old Uke. The young man's skin was all wheat-colored, and even though it was early spring, his clothes were wet with sweat. He was obviously engaged in a job that was often exposed to the sun. He came to Wayne's table, saluted Wayne politely, handed him a letter, and said, "Wayne, you have a letter from City Hall." Wayne took a look at the letter and found that the sender was the administrative officer Peter whom he had met a few days ago. He couldn't help but smile. It seems that after being left alone by him for a few days, the administrative officer couldn't wait any longer, and even took the initiative to write a letter asking him to have dinner in the tavern at night. "It just so happened that the matter of the house has been dragging on for several days, so I'll go check it out tonight and see if it can be resolved." He took out 2 copper coins, handed them to the young man as a tip, and put the letter away. Gerald looked at the back of the young messenger leaving and asked Wayne, "Whose letter? Has something happened?" Wayne smiled and shook his head, without explaining too much, just simply said, "The matter of the house has a plan, and we should be able to live in a big house very soon." Gerald didn't show any expectant expression when he heard that, he just said lightly, "Although I really want to tell you, we Witchers have always lived in nowhere, and we don't need a stable home. However, you decide your own affairs, and I will not stop you." In the evening, following the address on the letter, Wayne arrived at a tavern near the wealthy district. Upon entering, he immediately spotted Peter, the elegant officer, holding a glass of red wine and listening to the bard's performance with a thoughtful expression. After their initial exchange of pleasantries, Peter, even more enthusiastic than their last encounter at City Hall, wasted no time getting to the main topic. "Several days have passed, I wonder if you have made a decision on which house to buy?" Peter inquired, holding his glass of red wine. Taking a sip of beer, Wayne wore a somewhat embarrassed expression and spoke hesitantly, "To be honest, Peter, I originally planned to buy a high-end house, both as a residence and as an investment in Vima City. However, a few days ago, a friend of mine faced a financial crisis. I lent him a large sum of money, and now I'm afraid the funds for buying a house are not enough." Upon hearing this, Peter became anxious. A significant part of the reason he sought out Wayne was due to an impending performance summary meeting for the first quarter of the year. Securing a high-end house was critical for him to outperform the #1 administrative officer and advance his career within City Hall. Attempting to persuade Wayne, Peter continued, "Wayne, the new city is still under construction, presenting an opportunity for discounts. In the future, residents from the entire kingdom of Temeria will aspire to live in Vima, driving up housing prices in the city. If you miss this chance, you'll surely regret it." Seeing Wayne's expression showing signs of consideration, Peter seized the moment and added, "As for the funds you lack, I know a dwarf banker. If you use the house you buy as collateral, you should be able to borrow a sum of money from him." Wayne, however, shook his head at the mention of borrowing from the dwarf banker. "Sorry, Peter, I'm not inclined to borrow money from those bankers. They are all vampires, and my job income is not stable. Bearing a debt might lead to losing everything in the end." Peter, increasingly anxious, sought to gauge Wayne's financial capacity and cooperation. He asked directly, "Wayne, with all due respect, how much orens can you raise now? Let me know, so I can better assist you." In response, Wayne feigned a bit of embarrassment and replied, "I can probably prepare more than 2,000 orens now. Other high-end houses may be beyond my budget. I'm considering purchasing the house rumored to have some issues. I have a sorcerer's friend who might help me if the problems aren't significant." Peter was momentarily taken aback by Wayne's words but quickly regained his composure. Smiling, he said, "Wayne, don't take me for a fool. Didn't I inquire about your information? You're a witcher yourself, maybe you can solve the problem in that house by yourself, right?" Peter's shrewd observation prompted a surprised glance from Wayne, who, seeing the discerning look in Peter's eyes, decided to abandon some secrecy. "Haha, Peter, you are truly a shrewd official. But my desire to buy that house has nothing to do with my own occupation," Wayne responded with a smile. "I'm in no rush. Perhaps I'll wait another month or two. As the notoriety of this house spreads, I might consider taking it over. It could be cheaper by then. However, if other political officials approach me during this period, I won't turn them away." Peter's expression shifted slightly, but he quickly reverted to his warm and friendly demeanor. Pouring Wayne a glass of wine, he said, "Haha, Wayne, there's no need for such formalities. Leave this matter to me. I can handle the procedures for you tomorrow. I'll offer you a 10% discount on the price, that's the maximum discount I can give." He continued, "If you have any friends looking to settle in Vima and purchase shops, houses, or land, please direct them to me. I guarantee the best deals." Chapter 63, Lumber's Camp. After reaching an agreement with the administrative officer Peter, Wayne promptly purchased and moved into the new house in New Vima City. Joining him in the spacious residence were his two friends, Gerald and Jaskier, each allocated a separate room. Prior to their move, Wayne briefed Gerald and Jaskier about the godling Lala's family. Gerald and Jaskier expressed goodwill towards the demi-human race, ensuring they would not harm the little godling. The druid elder Keenster, following nearly a week of recuperating, saw his health return to a robust level. Formally bidding farewell to Wayne, the old man prepared to undertake the 3-year delayed task of establishing a new druid ring in the forest by Lake Vima. After discussions with Wayne, he decided to leave Vima City together when Wayne headed to the lumber's camp. On the eve of leaving Vima City, Wayne adhered to the agreement and spent 500 oren. He carefully selected a gemstone earring from a city jewelry store and sent it to Kira's mansion as her birthday present. Although he had contemplated giving the sorceress the gold pocket watch, the intricacy of the craftsmanship made it a medieval masterpiece, revealing certain details that could be potentially problematic. Kira, however, seemed indifferent to the value of the gift. Upon Wayne's visit to her mansion, the sorceress, elegantly dressed, engaged in adult games throughout the night. Even the poor maid Maisie was unwittingly drawn into the activities when she brought them supper. Exhausted after 2 hours, she succumbed to sleep once again. The following morning, as they parted ways, Kira, now in an elegant long dress, not only forgave Wayne for missing her birthday party but also presented him with an expensive bottle of wine. Wayne, holding the valuable bottle of wine, bid farewell to Gerald, who also wore a complex expression, and then, after packing his belongings and donning his equipment, mounted his steed Lucifer. He left Vima City alongside the old druid Keenster. Lake Vima, situated in the Ismana Valley, is the largest inland lake in the Kingdom of Temeria. Serving as a crucial water source, it connects the tributaries of the Pontar River, supplying abundant fresh water and fish to Vima City and its surrounding communities. The lake's rich resources have facilitated the city's ability to support a substantial population. The widespread irrigation of lake water and the nourishment from rainwater have given rise to a large swamp area, fraught with dangers, surrounding the immense lake. Additionally, an expansive forest has flourished. This region, with its stable ecological structure, houses various wild animals, spirits, and ghosts, each occupying distinct territories. However, since a year ago, the situation has changed slightly. The establishment of the new Vima City created a substantial demand for timber. Driven by economic interests, numerous logging farms, both large and small, were established around the primeval forest, leading to a surge in loggers cutting down trees in groups. These logging camps had a significant impact on the ecological structure of the virgin forest, causing many wild animals to be displaced from their habitats. In a struggle for survival, these creatures invaded the territories of others. The resulting chaotic environment prompted previously hidden monsters in the central area of the forest to attack loggers who disturbed them. Following the route provided by Larden, Wayne rode continuously. Upon entering the primeval forest, the druid elder Keenster officially parted ways with Wayne. Expressing gratitude for saving his life, Keenster shared the approximate location where he intended to build the druid ring and then disappeared into the forest. Looking at the direction Keenster left, Wayne suddenly thought, Could it be that this old man established the druid camp in the Vima forest in the plot of The Witcher more than 10 years later? Riding for another half hour, Wayne eventually reached Leverton's logging camp. The sprawling lumberyard employed hundreds of lumberjacks, consisting of both humans and dwarves, with a few elf lumberjacks in the mix. The workers had been at the site for a while, evident from the extensive clearing of the forest that left an unsightly scar, resembling the bite marks of a giant beast. Observing Wayne approaching on horseback, a middle-aged man wearing a long robe, with an anxious expression, hastily walked up to him. He scrutinized Wayne for a few seconds before speaking with a southern accent. "Excuse me, are you Wayne, the Witcher?" Wayne dismounted with a kind smile, nodding in confirmation. "Yes, I accepted Leverton's commission and came here." The middle-aged man visibly relaxed, giving Wayne a slight salute and introducing himself. "Welcome, Wayne. I am Ozek, the deacon appointed by the respected Leverton to manage the daily affairs of this logging camp. Leverton has written a letter to inform me that you are a formidable fighter who can assist us in resolving the current challenges we face. He instructed us to collaborate with your efforts." After a momentary hesitation, Ozek saluted again and made a sincere request. "Although it might be presumptuous, Wayne, can you begin working now? 3 of our loggers went missing this morning, and it's been 2 hours. They are all formal workers from Vima City, with wives and children, serving as the breadwinners for their families. If you can locate them, you'd be saving 3 families. I hope you'll consider my request." Ding! Task triggered, looking for the missing lumberjack, expert level. Accept/decline. Wayne furrowed his brow. He hadn't anticipated receiving an expert-level task immediately upon arriving at the worksite. Wayne saw no reason to refuse the task. Mentally accepting it, his expression shifted from the initial kindness to a more serious demeanor. Addressing Ozek, he said, "Of course, it's my job, Ozek. Please take me place where the incident took place and provide me with any information you have. Time is of the essence. Every second of delay diminishes the chances of the 3 workers surviving." Observing Wayne's professional and serious attitude, Ozek's respect for him deepened. However, the person on the opposite side was a friend of his boss, and he looked like a teenager, completely different from the mercenaries in his impression. If something went wrong, he would definitely not be able to explain it to the boss. After a brief moment of consideration, and with safety in mind, Ozek hesitated and asked, "Wayne, do you need me to gather a group of loggers to accompany you? Although they aren't soldiers, they're strong workers and might be able to assist." Wayne, picking up the master-level silver sword that had never tasted blood, and pairing it with the steel sword given by Vesemir, didn't outright reject Deacon Ozek's offer. Instead, he replied seriously, "I don't need it for now, Ozek. I have to investigate the situation at the scene before making a decision. This primeval forest is filled with dangers, and sending a large group might result in more casualties." Observing the continued hesitance on Ozek's face, Wayne offered a faint smile and spoke in a calm tone, "Don't worry about my safety. Despite my youthful appearance, more monsters have met their end under my sword than you can imagine." Chapter 64, Werewolf. Observing Wayne's unwavering confidence, Deacon Ozek refrained from further remarks and promptly led the Witcher to the site where the 3 missing lumberjacks were last seen. It was an unremarkable open space on the forest's edge, but in comparison to other logging stations, this location ventured deeper into the forest. Perhaps that's why the lumberjacks disappeared here. Upon reaching the crime scene, Wayne immediately held his breath and focused, utilizing his acute Witcher senses to search for clues. Initially expecting an imperceptible and unsolved case, Wayne surprised himself by discovering scattered logging axes in the grass within 10 minutes. Messy footprints adorned the ground, and a faint scent of fresh blood reached Wayne's keen nose. Leaning in, he discerned the scent of sweat, a greasy aroma akin to rust human blood, but not in excessive amounts. It was evident that some lumberjacks had been either killed or injured. Instead of hastily following the blood trail to locate the lumberjack, Wayne squatted on the ground, meticulously observing the disorderly footprints. Soon, he discerned clues from the footprints, large, 4-fingered imprints reminiscent of massive beasts, ruling out the possibility of wild bears or wolves. Ozek, standing nearby, noticed the footprints larger than a human palm, sinking deep into the ground. Realizing that a colossal and ferocious monster had attacked the lumberjacks, he couldn't help but express concern and ask Wayne about it. "Wayne, can you identify what kind of monster it is?" Ozek inquired. Wayne, stroking his smooth chin, recollected the knowledge acquired from Kaer Morhen and affirmed, it was a werewolf that attacked them. However, I find it peculiar. What could be the reason for a werewolf to target these loggers? Loggers who have just arrived here typically have no connection with these cursed creatures. Ozek, unfamiliar with the term werewolf, being a confidant from the southern kingdom who had recently arrived with Larden, expressed his ignorance of the various monsters in the north. The middle-aged deacon pondered aloud, werewolf, before suggesting, Wayne, are you confident you can locate this werewolf's lair? Should we go to the city and inform the guards to handle it? Wayne shot a mildly amused look at the naive southerner. He knew well that the guards in the northern city were unlikely to pay attention to incidents outside the city, and even if the city hall did take notice, under the influence of wealthy businessman Larden, a mere team of guards would be dispatched. Given the werewolf's formidable stature, towering meters high, razor-sharp claws capable of tearing through ordinary chain mail, and resilience that defied conventional damage, Wayne doubted the effectiveness of a standard guard force. Even with silver weapons, the guards, unless they were all seasoned warriors, would at best leave a few scars on the werewolves. Werewolves, being cunning and vicious cursed monsters, posed a significant threat even to fledgling witchers, leading to fatalities at their hands. It's no surprise that the system rated this task as expert level. Thankfully, Wayne possesses the magic storage bag containing all the potions, bombs, and sword oil needed to confront werewolves. With the master-level silver sword crafted by Master O'Henry, Wayne remains confident in facing an ordinary werewolf. Rising to his feet, Wayne addressed Deacon Ozek. Deacon Ozek, werewolves are formidable monsters transformed from cursed humans. Until I return, it's best not to venture into the forest. I wouldn't want to return to find more casualties. Ozek, aware of Wayne's expertise in handling monsters and respecting him as a friend of their boss, Larden, nodded promptly, certainly, Wayne. I will organize the loggers to focus on tasks that don't require entering the forest today. But please, exercise caution. You're the boss friend, and if something were to happen, the boss wouldn't spare me. Wayne acknowledged Ozek's concern and, considering the inconvenience of taking his mount, Lucifer, into the forest, handed over the care of the horse to Ozek without further pleasantries. Without delay, Wayne set to work, tracing the scent of blood and following footprints into the forest. Evidently, the werewolf lacked experience in evading pursuit, as it left an easily traceable trail. About an hour later, Wayne, guided by his heightened senses, arrived at the outskirts of the forest near a hunter's hut far from the small town on the outskirts of Vima. The lingering scent of blood and fresh footprints suggested that the injured logger and werewolf had entered the hut approximately half an hour ago. Wayne contemplated the current situation, wondering what he would find inside. Yet, Wayne refrained from hastily entering the house to assess the situation. Instead, he sat cross-legged in concealed grass outside the cabin. Retrieving the storage bag by his side, he carefully extracted 3 bottles of medicine, a vial of sword oil, and 3 alchemy bombs. Among the potions were the Thunder Potion, enhancing strength and damage, the Swallow Potion, for injury restoration, and Elixir, which helps in amplifying sign damage. Wayne's mutation level, currently at level 4, limited him to consuming 3 Witcher medicines simultaneously. Beyond that threshold, the strain on his body would become burdensome. Nevertheless, with his proficiency nearing its peak, Wayne anticipated unlocking a professional specialty skill that would allow him to endure another potion for additional potent enhancements. Suppressing the unpleasant odor of the potions, Wayne closed his eyes and swiftly consumed them during a brief meditation. The concoctions promptly invigorated his body. The Thunder Potion notably increased his strength, causing a slight muscle enlargement and dulling his pain perception in correlation with heightened strength. Drawing his silver sword, Wayne meticulously coated the blade with cursed sword oil and discreetly stowed the second steel sword and scabbard in the grass. This precaution was essential. Excess equipment only hinders combat efficacy in reality, unlike in games. Additional swords and scabbards would impede his agility and attack capabilities. Only when all preparations for the impending battle were complete did Wayne take a measured breath, step out from the concealed grass, and approach the main entrance. It was unwise for Wayne to impulsively enter the cramped hut, engaging in combat with a massive monster with thick skin and flesh within such confined quarters. Instead, he opted for a strategic approach, shouting, "Werewolf in the house, you've been exposed. I am a Witcher, and I came here to deal with you. If you have anything to say, you can come out and talk to me." This method served the dual purpose of drawing the werewolf out of the house while allowing Wayne to understand the motive behind the werewolf's recent attack on lumberjacks at a distant lumberyard. In response to Wayne's call, the room remained silent, yet his keen hearing detected a creature with heavy breathing gradually approaching the door. Through a tiny crack, Wayne could even catch a glimpse of the thick grey hair on the tall figure. Just when he suspected the werewolf might be incapable of speech due to anger-induced madness, a hoarse, angry roar erupted from the gate. The werewolf bellowed, "Witcher, I have heard of your legends. You are monster killers. However, this matter is none of your business. I am acting for revenge. My wife, Paula, died in the forest, naked and wounded, blood staining the ground. When I found her, she was dying, and she told me that several loggers had gang-raped her. She is the person I love the most. She doesn't even despise me as a werewolf. I must avenge her." Chapter 65, Fight. Upon hearing the werewolf's furious and sorrowful howls, Wayne remained composed and responded calmly, "It may not be wrong to avenge the one you love, but involving innocent people and harming them is definitely not the right course of action. If you still possess human rationality, release the woodcutters you've captured, and I can help you find the murderers who harmed your wife. If you've become a murderer yourself, killing innocent people, then you are no different from the villains who hurt your wife." The werewolf's anger intensified upon hearing these words. He roared through the wooden door, expressing his conviction, "Sure enough, you are all monsters without emotions, just like the legends. For revenge, I don't care if my hands are stained with blood. Those guys are not willing to cooperate with me at all. They are all accomplices who cover up the murderer. As long as I can't find the murderer that day, I will keep looking, even if I kill all the woodcutters around here, I will not hesitate." Understanding that the werewolf's mind was clouded by rage and a desire for revenge, Wayne realized that this attack on the lumberjacks was not an isolated incident. It seemed that the werewolves had extended their hatred from the murderers to the entire group of lumberjacks, possibly due to the difficulty of pinpointing a few culprits among the vast crowd. In response, Wayne silently fortified himself with an enhanced Quen shield, took an alchemy bomb from his belt with his left hand, and called out into the room, "In that case, werewolf, come out. Maybe revenge is just your excuse, and you simply enjoy killing," Wayne provocatively remarked in the face of the werewolf. Unable to suppress the destruction and impulse within, the werewolf roared, forcefully opened the door, and charged towards Wayne. Wayne's gaze remained fixed as he swiftly hurled an alchemy bomb in his left hand toward the approaching werewolf. A muted explosion followed, not of gunpowder, but a substantial release of silver-white dust, forming a dense silver smoke that enveloped the werewolf in a fluorescent glow. This was a moon dust bomb, crafted with silver powder as the primary ingredient, along with demeritium and other special herbal powders effective against magic or curse-formed monsters, as well as entities without normal shapes like ghosts and evil spirits. Specifically, it was a bane for werewolves, continuously damaging their bodies and impairing their regenerative abilities, rendering them incapable of sustained combat. The werewolf, struck mid-air, emitted a pained howl and angrily accused, "Despicable Witcher." Unfazed, Wayne adhered to the Witcher's principles, employing all means such as poison, traps, and bombs when dealing with monsters. He wielded the silver sword, quickly sidestepping to evade the werewolf's claws. Seizing the opportunity, Wayne aimed for the werewolf's unprotected belly, where bones did not provide defense, and delivered a swift slash. Successfully inflicting a bloody wound on the werewolf's flank, Wayne's cursed sword oil seeped into the wound, damaging the creature's internal organs. As a werewolf, lacking any martial arts practice, it could only rely on the wild instincts in its blood. Despite emitting a roar filled with pain, the werewolf's movements continued unabated. Digging its claws into the ground, it forcibly twisted its body, swiftly launching two razor-sharp claw strikes at Wayne. Werewolves, known for their agility and strength, could wield their claws with the swiftness of a swordsman's slash. Balancing the sword with both hands, Wayne strategically redirected the werewolf's claws, blocking the attacks. He then executed a powerful kick to the werewolf's wounded side, causing blood to spatter. The werewolf, in pain, wailed and stumbled back several steps. Regaining his stance, Wayne swiftly drew an ignisign in the air with his left hand and pushed it forward. A burst of flames enveloped the werewolf, igniting its weak hair and grey fur. The flames spread to its head, ears, and beard, intensifying its suffering. In the grip of anger and fear, the werewolf frantically swung its claws, attempting to deter the Witcher from approaching. Wayne, however, kept his distance. Retrieving a dragon's dream bomb from his belt, he hurled it at the frenzied werewolf. Upon impact, the bomb unleashed a powerful explosion, further fueling the flames. The flammable substance within Dragon's dream not only intensified the fire on the werewolf but also blasted it to the ground, leaving its entire body charred. Seizing the opportunity, Wayne swiftly advanced, exploiting the moment the werewolf's defenses were wide open. Gripping the silver sword with both hands, he delivered a forceful blow to the werewolf's heart. Bones shattered, blood sprayed, and the sword cut through the werewolf's body with remarkable ease. Wayne experienced only a slight resistance as the sharp blade sliced through several ribs, reaching the heart protected by the bones. The werewolf, now in excruciating pain, lost control of its body, staggering backward and eventually dropping to one knee. Covered in silver powder and engulfed in flames, its lower abdomen and heart bore severe wounds, causing immense suffering. Despite its werewolf resilience, such injuries proved overwhelming. Kneeling on its left knee, the werewolf clutched its heart with a sharp claw, blood pouring from the wound along with broken internal organs and bone fragments. Its almost blinded eyes, burnt by flames, focused on Wayne with blurred vision. Gasping heavily, it spoke in a hoarse voice. "Witcher, I am not a monster. I'm just a man seeking vengeance for his wife. I became so consumed by anger that I accidentally killed a few loggers. But I can't stop. If I die, who will avenge my wife, Paula? She was a good woman who didn't deserve what happened to her." Wayne, still holding the silver sword, pointed its tip at the werewolf's head, releasing a heavy breath. Although the battle lasted only a few minutes, each moment was perilous. If it weren't for the augmented strength provided by the Thunder Potion, Wayne wouldn't have been able to fend off the werewolf's claws. The thin chainmail he wore would have been insufficient to stop the sharp claws, risking serious injury or even death if struck on the abdomen or chest. As Wayne observed the dying werewolf, he remained vigilant for any potential counterattack in its final moments. He inquired, "You're going to die soon, werewolf. Perhaps you can share the clues you discovered. After your death, I may bring justice to your wife by making those who harmed her pay the deserved price." The werewolf, on the brink of death, responded with a bitter laugh, spitting out blood before speaking hoarsely, "There are no clues. What clues can I find in the vast forest? The only thing my wife mentioned was 3 assailants, one with a bald head, one with a black beard, and a thin man. I haven't discovered anything else." Wayne, acknowledging the difficulty of solving such a crime in the wild, promised, "I will do my best to help you find the murderers and bring them to justice. Do you have any last wishes?" In response, the werewolf raised his head, although his eyes, burned by flames, could no longer clearly see Wayne. He spoke in a sorrowful tone, "Witcher, my wife is buried in the yard. After killing me, please bury us together. If you find the murderer, come back to pay your respects and share the good news." Wayne nodded, acknowledging the werewolf's plea. With a solemn expression, he looked at the werewolf, devoid of resistance, raised the silver sword, and mercifully ended its suffering. Chapter 66, Vengeance and Redemption. Witnessing the massive wolf head roll to the ground, Wayne silently released a sigh of relief. It marked his first encounter with such a formidable monster. As the effects of the Witcher's potion gradually waned, he began to feel a slight strain in his arm joints, accompanied by tingling pain throughout his muscles. Reflecting on the battle, Wayne acknowledged that attempting to directly block the werewolf's claw attacks with a sword was too taxing. He resolved to prioritize evasion when facing similarly powerful monsters in the future. Fortunately, the werewolf ultimately accepted its fate and refrained from launching a final, desperate counterattack. Despite the potential challenges in uncovering the truth behind the incident, dealing with an aggressive dying monster would have been even more perilous. Wayne sheathed his blade, returned the silver sword to his belt, gazed at the werewolf's lifeless body, hesitated briefly, and then decided against dissecting it for materials. Recognizing the creature's intelligence, ability to speak, and its role as a devoted husband, Wayne found the idea of harvesting its organs too cruel, at least for now. Stepping over the werewolf's remains, Wayne ascended the wooden steps and entered the hunter's lodge. Although it appeared ordinary to the naked eye, with 2 bedrooms and a living room featuring aged furniture and decorations, Wayne's acute sense of smell detected the lingering scent of blood, leading him to the bedroom. Upon reaching the bedroom, Wayne discerned the location of a basement beneath the wooden floor by tapping it with his scabbard, identifying a hollow sound. As he prepared to lift the concealed wooden door leading to the basement, his attention was drawn to an oil-painted portrait on the bedroom wall. The portrait depicted a robust middle-aged man with short hair, tenderly embracing a young woman with long chestnut hair. Positioned between them was a bright-smiled boy of about 10 years old. This revelation hinted that the werewolf still had a son, though Wayne remained unaware of the child's whereabouts. Considering the infectious nature of the werewolf curse, which could be transmitted through bites or hereditary bloodlines, Wayne paused his descent into the basement. Instead, he searched the bedroom for clues. Leveraging his keen observation skills, he swiftly uncovered over 70 orans hidden in a concealed compartment within a cabinet, alongside a letter resembling a suicide note. After a moment of hesitation, Wayne opened the letter and perused its contents. Several minutes later, he returned the envelope and orans to their original locations with a complex expression. The contents of the letter revealed that the werewolf's original name was Mysis. Following the tragic death of his wife, he sent his grieving son to his aunt's house in town to recuperate. Determined to avenge his wife, Mysis began searching for the culprits in surrounding logging camps. Despite his efforts, he was unable to find any leads, leaving him frustrated, helpless, and filled with shame. Recognizing the impending consequences of the werewolf curse within him, Mysis left behind the deposited orans and the suicide note in anticipation of a grim fate. "Save us!" The desperate pleas of the living loggers echoed in the underground cave as they clung to the hope of rescue. Wayne carefully observed the scene, noting the horrifying condition of the captives. The stench of blood and the sight of mutilated bodies painted a grim picture of the atrocities committed in this underground space. The two loggers with open stomachs had met a gruesome fate, their lifeless bodies adding to the macabre scene. Steeling himself against the gruesome sight, Wayne decided to prioritize the rescue of the living. He approached the captives and began inspecting the hemp ropes binding their hands, searching for a way to quickly free them from their dire predicament. Hearing the desperate cries for help from the woodcutters, Wayne observed that the 6 individuals matched the description given by Paula, the werewolf's wife. They all had bald heads and black beards, and the 2 deceased victims were relatively thin, likely the reason for their arrest. However, relying solely on these common characteristics would falsely implicate about 1/10 of the lumberjacks as potential murderers. Using his sword, Wayne cut the ropes binding the woodcutters and gently lowered them to the ground. Assuring them that the threat had been eliminated, he identified himself as the witcher invited by Deacon Ozick. Recognizing their injuries, Wayne advised them to rest in the basement while he informed Deacon Ozick to arrange for a doctor's assistance. A bald-headed lumberjack, appearing older, expressed immediate gratitude, thanking Wayne for saving his life and expressing concern for his children's future. Witnessing the appreciation from the other surviving loggers, Wayne responded with a smile, offering words of reassurance and providing clean cloth strips for bandaging their wounds. After giving these instructions, Wayne headed towards the basement exit. Unexpectedly, as he emerged from the wooden door, he was greeted by the sound of crying from outside the house. "Father! Please, don't leave me! You and Mother are both dead, and I am the only one left in this world." Upon hearing the cries, Wayne's heart stirred, and he quickly deduced the identity of the distressed child. Sighing inwardly, Wayne hesitated for a few seconds before taking a step out of the room. As expected, beside the decapitated werewolf's corpse, a 10-year-old child lay on the ground, crying inconsolably and pleading with his father not to leave him. Upon hearing the movement and seeing Wayne emerge from the house, the child was momentarily stunned. However, his sorrowful expression quickly transformed into one of hatred. With an angry glare, the child accused Wayne of being the perpetrator, claiming that his father, a good man, didn't deserve to be killed. Without waiting for Wayne's response, the child stood up abruptly and charged towards him in a fit of desperation. Faced with the child's furious attack, Wayne refrained from drawing his sword. Instead, he adopted a complex expression and sidestepped to allow the child to vent his anger. Placing his palm against the child's head, Wayne prevented him from getting too close. Despite the likely futility of explaining to a child, Wayne felt compelled to convey the truth. He spoke, "Your father was a werewolf. Blinded by anger and seeking revenge for your mother, he killed 2 innocent loggers. Those loggers, like your father, were also fathers to other children and husbands to other women, with families of their own. It might be hard for you to grasp now, but your father was in the wrong in this matter. He paid for his mistakes. You, too, bear the blood of a werewolf, but it's not your fault. Control your anger and destructive urges, and don't let them cloud your reason. If, in the future, you commit similar wrongs as your father, I will have to kill you, like your father today." Having spoken his piece, Wayne observed the child persisting in his desperate stance, clutching at his chainmail with immature hands, even drawing blood from his fingers in the process. Sighing inwardly, Wayne employed his left hand to make the sign of Axie. With this, an enhanced version of mind control was forcibly introduced into the child's mind, eliciting a strong spiritual impact that caused the child's eyes to roll back, rendering him unconscious. Wayne gently picked up the child's immature body, gazed at the sky, and after contemplating for a few moments, carried the child in his arms. With a complex mix of emotions, he sprinted toward the location of the lumberyard in Larden. Chapter 67, Case Follow-Up. That evening, after addressing the aftermath of the werewolf incidents, Deacon Ozick located Wayne near a small river, where the witcher was engaged in swordsmanship practice, displaying a wolf-like, ferocious, and relentless sequence of maneuvers. Observing Wayne's skillful display, Deacon Ozick respectfully saluted before delivering an update. Wayne, the injured workers have been transported to the hospital for treatment. According to the doctor's assessment, their injuries are not life-threatening. The bodies of the 2 workers who sacrificed their lives have been returned to their families. He then shifted his focus to the matter of the child Wayne had rescued. As for the child you brought back, we've already arranged for someone to locate his aunt's house, and he is now under proper care. However, Deacon Ozick hesitated for a moment before addressing another concern. The workers have expressed reservations about burying the werewolf's body. They believe that the best course of action is to burn the werewolf's remains. Upon hearing this, Wayne sheathed his steel sword, turned to face Deacon Ozick, and regarded the southerner with a serious expression. Speaking in a solemn tone, Wayne explained, making use of gestures as if enlightening someone less informed. Mr. Ozick, the workers may lack knowledge on the matter. Werewolves are perilous creatures, cursed with a malevolent force. Even if their bodies are incinerated, these monsters can transform into vengeful spirits, continuing to pose a threat to the workers. The reason I propose burying him beside my wife and request your assistance in finding the real culprit is to ensure the eradication of the monster's lingering hatred. Only through this can he find peace. Having expressed his concerns, Wayne paused, adopting a tone of helplessness. He emphasized the unique vulnerability of lumberyards and their workers, who are in close proximity to the forest. People in towns are relatively safe from these dangers, but those of us in lumberyards, especially the workers here, have to reside near this forest. We can't afford the presence of another malevolent spirit, invisible, cursed, unafraid of swords, persistently seeking to take the lives of the living. As Wayne narrated the potential threats posed by such malevolent spirits, Ozick, visibly frightened, couldn't shake the vivid image of the werewolf's formidable corpse. The creature, with a robust body exceeding several meters, razor-sharp claws, and a terrifying wolf-shaped head adorned with sharp teeth and blood, left an indelible mark on Ozick's memory. Confronted with the terrifying reality, Ozick struggled to fathom the extent of devastation that would have occurred without the intervention of the master demon hunter. The mere thought of potential evil spirits haunting the area sent shivers down his spine, intensifying his sense of urgency. Acknowledging the severity of the situation, Ozick pledged, "I understand, Master Wayne. I will promptly approach the managers of nearby logging factories, urging them to provide a list of loggers who might have been present near the hunter's lodge 3 days ago, based on the descriptions you provided. I will then invite you to assist in screening through the list." Wayne, appreciating the commitment, nodded in agreement. As he watched Deacon Ozick depart, Wayne reflected on the use of strategic misinformation. Despite incorporating some lies, he understood that such tactics could contribute to a more favorable resolution, achieving justice in the process. As the rumor of evil spirits spread, the logging factory managers, driven by fear, became notably cooperative. Within a few days, they furnished Wayne with a relatively accurate list. Subsequently, with the werewolf threat eliminated, Wayne's duties at the lumberyard became relatively relaxed. Apart from occasional appearances of low-intelligence entities, there were no further monster attacks on the lumber camps. During the periods of leisure, Wayne engaged in daily on-duty tasks assigned by Deacon Ozick, earning rewards akin to a regular job. His routine involved practicing horseback riding in the open space, foraging for herbs in the forest, brewing witcher potions, and occasionally revisiting his long-neglected archery skills. Life assumed a pleasant rhythm. The expert-level werewolf mission proved rewarding, granting him huge experience points and an expert-level treasure chest. This achievement propelled him from level 5 to level 6 as a witcher. His physical prowess saw a slight improvement, and a system-rewarded ability point was added to his arsenal. Wayne, 16 years old. Occupation, witcher. Level 6, 23/600. Ability value, 6 points. Attributes, Strength 18, Dexterity 23, Constitution 20, Spirit 23. Skills, Swordsmanship LV5, Sign LV8, Gene mutation LV4, Gwent LV4. Special bloodline, Elder Blood, weak, unawakened, requires 10 ability points to activate. Subsidiary skills, Archery LV2, Cooking LV5, Planting LV3, Alchemy LV3, Writing LV3. Currently, his culinary skills had reached level 5, and other skills, such as mutation levels from potion consumption and Gwent card levels from playing cards, had peaked at level 4. With continued effort, Wayne anticipated breaking through to level 5 within a month, unlocking the opportunity to select skill specialties. However, the scarcity of ability points remained a drawback. Apart from the minimal points provided with each upgrade, absorbing magic power from the circle of elements represented the sole means of acquiring this potent resource. Wayne found himself entangled in thoughts about absorbing magic nodes, knowing that it would inevitably cause damage to the space and create tiny cracks. He realized the importance of choosing his targets carefully to minimize potential repercussions. On the 5th day of his duty at the lumberyard, Deacon Ozick approached Wayne with a serious expression, conveying that all the lumberjacks matching the provided appearance characteristics and potentially present near the werewolf hut during the incident had gathered. A total of 53 individuals awaited Wayne's questioning. Surprised by the efficiency of Deacon Ozick and the logging factory bosses, Wayne nodded in acknowledgement. The rumors of evil spirits seemed to have prompted these businessmen to act swiftly, recognizing the potential impact on their lucrative logging operations. Wayne expressed appreciation to Ozick for the thoughtful arrangement and acknowledged the smooth progress made possible by his assistance. Wayne commended Ozick's efforts, assuring him that Leverden would surely praise him upon learning the truth. Ozick, visibly pleased, smiled and responded. "It's my duty to assist you, Wayne. I'm glad we could work together to resolve this matter swiftly. If you need any further help, don't hesitate to ask. Now, the loggers are waiting in our dormitory. Shall we proceed?" With gratitude, Wayne agreed to accompany Ozick to question the loggers and unravel the mystery surrounding the werewolf incident. As Ozick had foreseen, more than 50 loggers, wearing various expressions of guilt, fear, or nervousness, were guarded in several dormitories. Aware of the purpose behind their gathering, Wayne refrained from immediate questioning and instead discreetly observed them, noting those who displayed particularly strong emotions such as guilt, fear, or anger. After half an hour of observation, Wayne turned to Deacon Ozick and requested a separate room for individual questioning. Ozick promptly arranged a spacious room, implemented security measures, and allowed the loggers to enter one by one for Wayne's inquiries, preventing any potential disturbances. As a witcher with the ability to cast spells, Wayne didn't rely on traditional interrogation skills. Instead, he utilized the Axii sign to hypnotize those marked by him and extracted the information he needed. The process went smoothly, with Wayne successfully narrowing down the list of suspects from 50s to the dozens present at the scene. The critical part of the operation was not the questioning itself but the identification of the culprits among the loggers. Wayne's spells allowed him to extract detailed confessions from the marked individuals, ensuring that even if they attempted to deny their crimes later, the recorded evidence would stand against them. Exhausted but determined, Wayne continued his spell casting, eventually capturing 3 key prisoners. Approximately 2 hours later, Wayne, resisting physical fatigue, concluded the interrogations. The 3 prisoners, who had been marked and detailed their crimes under the influence of the Axii sign, were recorded and presented with the ironclad evidence of their guilt. Despite any potential protests, the criminals ultimately succumbed to the undeniable proof. Deacon Ozick promptly grasped the situation and, with the assistance of guards, transported the 3 criminals and their signed confessions to the prison in Vima City. Their fate was sealed, awaiting execution on the gallows as punishment for their crimes. Chapter 68, Lala's Request. In no time, Wayne's days at the lumberyard came to an end. The recent days had been remarkably peaceful, devoid of werewolf attacks on the logging camp or vengeful werewolf children seeking retribution. Wayne felt a sense of relief. He briefly provided Deacon Ozick with information about Gerald, who would be taking over the duty in the afternoon. After a simple farewell, Wayne mounted Lucifer and retraced the path back to Vizima City. Despite a week passing, the city remained unchanged. The bustling atmosphere persisted, driven by the ongoing construction of the new city, creating a demand for numerous workers. Employment opportunities had become more accessible, even improving the living conditions for impoverished families in the slums. Upon reaching home, Wayne discovered Gerald was already there. Shirtless and engrossed in carpentry, Gerald wielded a hammer and wooden saw. A sizable pile of wood and thatch occupied the open space in the backyard. Curious about the scene, Wayne inquired, prompting Gerald to explain somewhat sheepishly. Apparently, the horse had broken free from the reins the previous day, ventured into the front yard, and consumed a significant portion of the flowers and plants Wayne had planted. Additionally, the mischievous godling Lala emerged from the well at night, displaying anger. Using some unknown magic, Lala caused the horse to experience diarrhea throughout the night, leaving the yard covered in horse manure. Recognizing the need for a solution, Gerald had taken the initiative to purchase materials and planned to construct a stable in the backyard. Wayne nodded in approval, displaying a lack of anger. With a vast area of 3,000 square meters, his residence had more than enough space for additional amenities. A stable, martial arts arena and back garden would comfortably fit. Observing Lala's affinity for the flowers and plants in the front yard, Wayne recognized an opportunity. Having collected numerous herbal seeds from the forest, he decided to build a greenhouse next to the well in the backyard. This would serve as a convenient spot for herb cultivation, eliminating the need to journey to the forest every time he refined medicine. Lala would become his free gardener, tending to the plants. Despite his desire to approach the legendary lake goddess, Wayne acknowledged the impracticality of forcing such interactions. The lake lady's sword possessed formidable power, making it an ideal weapon for any swordsman. Turning his attention to Gerald, who toiled diligently and seemed to be enjoying the work, Wayne noticed a missing presence. Inquiring about Jaskier's whereabouts, Wayne learned that the bard had left Vima the day before. As a student of Oxenford University, Jaskier's vacation had ended, prompting his departure in a carriage. Gerald added a complaint about a borrowed oren that remained unreturned. Oxenford College stood as a prestigious institution in the Northern Kingdom, located in the renowned city of Redania. It provided an avenue for ordinary people to acquire scientific knowledge. Notably, Shunny, a renowned heroine, was a distinguished alumna of this academy. Completing his carpentry work, Gerald wiped the sweat from his brow and turned to Wayne. He inquired if Wayne could build a stable, suggesting to save the task until his return. Curious about the recent events in the logging camp, Gerald asked if Wayne had encountered any special monsters in the area. Wayne hummed, scrutinizing the stable that Gerald had just finished laying the foundation for. The style appeared ordinary, but the thick wood used indicated sturdiness once covered. Recounting his experiences, Wayne informed Gerald of encountering a werewolf kidnapping a logger on the first day at the logging camp. The werewolf was cursed, controlling its mind, and Wayne ultimately had to kill it. Surprised, Gerald inquired about the rare encounter, stating that his last confrontation with a werewolf was over 30 years ago. Wayne nodded, providing details of how he handled the werewolf, concealed the werewolf child, unveiled the murderer, and expressed his emotions about the tragic turn of events. He emphasized the villain's actions as more detestable than monsters, turning what could have been a beautiful ending into a tragedy due to the three criminals. Reflecting on the outcome, Wayne shared his regret about the lone orphan cursed to navigate a challenging life. Gerald, silent for a few seconds, sighed and regarded Wayne with admiration. It was evident that Wayne's humane approach resonated with Gerald. Gerald expressed regret, citing Vesemir's teachings about the scarier nature of human hearts compared to monsters. He acknowledged the scarcity of werewolf cases and the lack of an accurate method to lift the curse. The child, he noted, might endure a miserable life due to the curse. At lunch, Wayne once again took charge of cooking, treating himself and Gerald to a delicious meal. Other amenities in this home may not be perfect, but the kitchen was gorgeously outfitted from day one. The only drawback was that the Middle Ages lacked facilities like refrigerators. To preserve food freshness, one could only achieve this by constructing a cellar for storing ice cubes in the future. After a satisfying meal and conversation, Gerald mounted on his horse and departed for the lumberyard, leaving Wayne alone at home. Wayne, however, didn't remain idle. He headed to his room on the second floor, closed the door, and initiated the process of opening the treasure chest. Throughout the 7 days of guarding the lumberyard, Wayne acquired 1 expert-level treasure chest and 6 ordinary-level treasure chests. As he opened the treasure chests one by one, a disappointed expression appeared on his face. Ding! Expert-level treasure chest, open. Obtained, 142 pieces of oren. Ding! Ordinary treasure chest *6, open. Obtained, 71 pieces of oren, 3 bottles of intermediate healing potions. Intermediate healing potion, a potion made by an Azeroth alchemist. It can quickly restore a small amount of vitality and treat medium-sized internal injuries. The interval between uses is 1 hour. It seemed that the luck from the previous time had waned. This time, among the 7 treasure chests, The expert level ones did not yield much, but the ordinary level ones produced 3 useful potions. Wayne understood that the Azeroth healing potion differed significantly from the swallow potion used by witchers. While it might lack the long-lasting effect of the swallow potion, the alchemical potion could be consumed by ordinary people without side effects, providing rapid relief. It could serve as a life-saving medicine for civilians with serious injuries. After opening the treasure chest, Wayne took a hot bath at home, changed into lighter clothes, and visited Master O'Henry's blacksmith shop. Now that he was free, learning forging technology became part of his agenda. That afternoon, Wayne absorbed basic blacksmithing knowledge from Andrew the dwarf, and bought a simple furnace, essential forging tools, and some materials from the blacksmith shop. He then hired a bullock cart to transport the equipment back to his home. By the time he finished unloading the cart and returned to his room, dusk had settled. Just as Wayne was about to take a shower and prepare dinner, a timid voice emerged from the corner of his room. "Wayne, is that you?" Startled, Wayne instinctively cast a Quen shield and directed his gaze toward the corner. There stood a purple-skinned little godling wearing a wreath on its head, only half a meter tall and dressed in a special leather suit, looking at him with big watery eyes. It was the little Lala. Wayne breathed a sigh of relief, adjusted his mood, and asked in a kind tone, "It's me, Lala. What's the matter?" Hearing the familiar voice, Lala stepped out of the corner, gazing uneasily at Wayne. In a pleading voice, it said, "Wayne, you're a witcher. My brother was captured by a group of Dagon worshippers at noon. My parents don't know where they are. I want you to help me rescue my brother." Ding! Task triggered. Save Godling fits, expert level. Accept/decline. Chapter 69, Fisher King. The task activated, presenting itself as an expert level challenge. Wayne, driven by instinct, felt the inclination to accept it. However, his immediate enthusiasm waned as he considered the circumstances. Lala was a devoted follower of the lake goddess. Her elder brother had been captured by Dagon worshippers, agents of the malevolent sea god Dagon. Uncertainty clouded Wayne's decision. Was this a routine kidnapping, or did it involve a clash between 2 deities? Caught in a moment of hesitation, Wayne observed Lala, whose appearance, despite its peculiar charm, carried a plea for assistance. She blinked her ugly yet endearing eyes, reaching out to grasp Wayne's trouser legs. Looking up at him, she implored, "Can you help me rescue my brother, Wayne? I don't know where else to seek aid." Confronted with Lala's pitiful plea, Wayne pondered the situation. Reflecting on the events from the original book, where Geralt aided the goddess of the lake in defeating the evil god Dagon, Wayne considered the potential benefits. Geralt had emerged victorious and even gained recognition as the knight of the goddess of the lake, bestowed with the sword of the Lady of the Lake. Reasoning that if Geralt, despite his perceived vulnerabilities, could defeat this so-called evil god, Dagon might not be as formidable as the task's expert difficulty suggested. Wayne concluded that the danger might not be overwhelming. Instead, he saw an opportunity to draw closer to the lake goddess. In this world, the goddess of the lake was a mysterious being named Nymph, an elf born of nature, often appearing as a beautiful girl with magical powers akin to Jinn, capable of granting wishes. Not only in lakes but also in mountains, forests, wilderness, and springs, one may find these beautiful mythical beings. Among them, the goddess of the lake stands out as the most powerful and renowned. In the past, numerous noble knights devoutly believed in the goddess of the lake. To promote the 5 virtues of knighthood imparted by the goddess, they acted chivalrously across the entire continent, undertaking many noble deeds. Whether motivated by future benefits or a quest for justice in the world, assisting the goddess of the lake was considered a commendable choice. With these considerations in mind, Wayne silently accepted the task. He then directed his attention to Lala, looking down at her and inquiring, "No problem, Lala. I will help you. But before we proceed, you must share all the information you have. Describe your brother's appearance, identify the captor, and provide details on where they took him. It would be even more helpful if you knew why the acolytes targeted your brother." Relieved that Wayne was willing to help, Lala recalled stories she had read where witchers proved to be formidable adversaries, triumphing over various monsters. In response to Wayne's queries, Lala furrowed her brow, crossed her arms in contemplation, and as if recollecting something important. She began to explain, "A few days ago, my brother mentioned that he stole something valuable from an acolyte and hid it in our house. Today, while fishing in the lake, he was suddenly surrounded by a group of acolytes. They demanded that he should hand over the thing that he stole, but my brother refused, leading to his capture. Lala continued, being small, I managed to escape their notice by hiding in the aquatic plants. Later, I overheard the acolytes discussing their intention to take my brother to Blackturn Island and offer him as a sacrifice to their god. There are too many of them, and I don't know what to do, so I came to you, Lala explained. Upon hearing this, Wayne grasped the situation, but he soon found himself a bit distressed. Blackturn Island, situated in the central area of Lake Vizima, teemed with vitality and remained untouched by humans. It harbored various animals and monsters, contributing to its mysterious ambience. However, reaching the island required a boat, and ordinary boatmen were reluctant to venture there. Witchers, unlike acolytes, couldn't swim such a long distance and reach the small island in the center of the lake. Facing this challenge, Wayne, with a tentative tone, asked Lala, Blackturn Island is in the middle of the lake. I can't reach it without a boat. Is there anything you can do? Frowning in distress, Lala contemplated the predicament. After a brief pause, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she exclaimed, I've got it, Wayne. In the swamp village lives the Fisherman King. He is also a believer of the goddess, and he sails to Blackturn Island to meet the goddess occasionally. If we ask him for help, he should be able to take us to the island by boat. Wayne nodded in agreement, recalling the existence of the Fisher King. This mysterious character appeared to be one of the lovers of the goddess of the lake. Trusting him seemed reasonable. Observing the dusk settling in and the sun gradually descending, Wayne wondered if the acolytes could see in the dark as he could. However, the urgency of the situation pushed such considerations aside. Despite the strength of the acolytes not being much greater than that of drowners, Wayne believed that with caution, there shouldn't be any significant problems. As a witcher, Wayne possessed considerable energy, and even after a night or two without rest, he wouldn't feel overly tired. He gently touched Lala's head and assured her, Okay, Lala, I've got a good grasp of the situation. Head home now, retrieve the item your brother brought back and meet me by the lake outside the city. We'll head to the Fisher King overnight and attempt to rescue your brother before dawn. Lala nodded in agreement, taking a few steps toward the door with her short legs. Before leaving, she glanced back at Wayne, expressing her gratitude, Thank you, Wayne. You're such a nice guy. Watching Lala leave, Wayne sighed with relief. Realizing he didn't have time for a bath, he quickly changed back into his witcher equipment, securing both swords on his belt. Retrieving a bottle of Red Bull and some chocolate from a hidden compartment, he consumed them swiftly. Now prepared fully, he walked out of the house, mounted Lucifer and headed towards the city outskirts. Equipped with a magic storage bag, Wayne had all the necessary supplies on with him in the bag. There was no need for extensive preparations like other witchers. Riding Lucifer, he left Vizima city before the gates closed. Following a brief search, he found Lala at the designated spot in the grass by the lake. Dispensing with formalities, Wayne hugged Lala and mounted his horse, swiftly riding towards the swamp village. Lala, being a local resident for many years, guided him through shortcuts, circling around Lake Vizima, and eventually reaching the swamp village before nightfall. Known as the Dark Water Village, this settlement was constructed in the swamp. Home to over 100 inhabitants, the villagers had thrived for generations on the unique soil in the swamp, crafting earthen pots and roof tiles. Wayne arrived at the village when everyone had already fallen asleep, with only a few houses showing faint lights. This matter didn't concern the villagers, and Wayne, guided by Lala, reached a nondescript wooden house by the lake. The house appeared quite ordinary, lacking any distinctive features. Had it not been situated by the lake, quite a distance from the village, it might have gone unnoticed. Upon dismounting, Wayne reached out to lift Lala, a small and lively creature, off the horse. Despite her brother's kidnapping, Lala, while riding, seemed to forget the distress. Her small hands couldn't resist stroking Lucifer's mane, displaying curiosity and affection. Arriving outside the Fisher King's house, Lala abruptly remembered their mission, and her face once again showed anxiety. After dismounting, she hurriedly ran to the main door of the wooden house and knocked with her short legs. About 10 seconds later, a faint light emanated from the hut, followed by the creaking sound of the door opening. An old man, looking quite aged, emerged with an oil lamp, wearing worn-out linen clothes and carrying a hatchet. The old man's cloudy gaze first fell on Wayne, 7 or 8 meters away, lingering on the 2 swords hanging at his waist. Then, he shifted his attention to Lala, the diminutive godling standing at his feet. His expression remained unchanged as he hoarsely inquired, what's the matter? Holding the colorful conch from the goddess of the lake, Lala anxiously spoke to the Fisher King, my brother was captured by the acolytes. I'll take the Witcher to rescue him. Please take us to Cedarn Island by boat, Fisher King. The Fisherman King, maintaining his stoic expression, squatted down to listen to the godling. After over a minute of deliberation, he stood up, glanced at a wooden boat nearby, and said, well, let's go. Chapter 70, Blackturn Island. Bathed in the cold moonlight, Lake Vizima at night resembled a tranquil mirror. A thin layer of mist veiled the lake's surface, obscuring the direction for ordinary observers. The Fisher King skillfully navigated the wooden boat, slicing through the flat lake and leaving behind a trail of ripples. Wayne, seated on the boat, played with a black pearl that was size of an egg that he had obtained from Lala. The pearl possessed a smooth and lustrous surface, emanating a captivating charm. Fitz, Lala's brother, had stolen this pearl, and while it triggered a response from the medallion on his body, Wayne found no record of it in his acquired knowledge. The Fisher King, stationed at the forefront, maintained a stoic silence, practicing a form of closed-mouth meditation. Apart from the initial announcement of their departure, he uttered no further words. Nevertheless, his adept control and the boat's steady speed indicated that, despite his elderly appearance, he possessed considerable physical strength. As the wooden boat sailed for approximately half an hour, an island covered in trees and vegetation gradually emerged on the horizon. Blackturn Island boasted a substantial area, almost rivaling the entire new city of Vizima. Within the island's greenery and rocky areas lay remnants of ancient structures. It remained unclear whether these ruins belonged to elves from thousands of years ago or even more ancient civilizations. Regardless, the island's former inhabitants were long gone, and the abandoned structures were now occupied by a variety of wild animals, plants, and acolytes. Upon reaching the island in the center of the lake, the Fisher King, adorned in shabby linen clothes, grabbed a hatchet from the bow, seated himself on a stone, and, with clouded eyes, addressed Lala, I'll wait for you here. Having spoken these words, he lapsed into silence once again. Observing the Fisher King, Wayne assumed that this enigmatic figure possessed the capability to defend himself. He turned to Lala and inquired, Lala, do you have a way to determine your brother's location? If not, both you and the Fisher King can stay here and wait for me. His question was exploratory, but to his surprise, Lala had some tricks up her sleeve. Proudly lifting the colorful conch around her neck, she declared, Wayne, I can find my brother. There is also a conch similar to this on my brother. As long as I blow this, I can sense where my brother is. Wayne, eyebrows raised, acknowledged that the goddess of the lake had indeed blessed Lala's family with remarkable gifts. After a brief contemplation, he suggested, in that case, Lala, you can use the invisibility spell to follow me. Be careful and avoid getting close to any monsters. The little one nodded obediently, grasped the colorful conch on her chest, and blew it into her hand. Without making a sound, an invisible wave emanated, and she blinked before pointing to the south of Blackturn Island. I feel it, my brother is over there, Wayne. After speaking, the Lala blew the colorful conch again, swiftly turning herself invisible, and cautiously followed Wayne. A dense forest occupied the island's center, and the quickest route to the southern location indicated by Lala was through this forest. However, entering into unfamiliar woods at night was undeniably a risky endeavor. After contemplating for a few seconds, Wayne opted for a more cautious approach and silently circled the perimeter of the forest. In any case, knowing Fitz's location made it feasible to locate him with a bit more time. The stealthy journey proceeded smoothly, encountering a few wild wolves and brown bears along the way posed no threat, as Wayne's Axii sign drove them away without initiating a battle. After another half-hour, Wayne and the invisible Lala successfully skirted the forest, traversed a wilderness adorned with flowers and plants, and reached a damp cave near the lake. Surveying the surroundings, Wayne noticed several fish-headed monsters brandishing wooden sticks and bone spears, standing vigilantly around the cave while engaged in hushed conversations, evidently barring entry to other beings. Observing their ability to navigate in the dark without torches, Wayne furrowed his brow, surmising that these creatures possessed night vision. Considering the unique conditions of life at the bottom of a lake or seabed, where sunlight couldn't reach, Wayne understood the necessity for such creatures to move adeptly in darkness. Whispering to the invisible Lala following closely behind, Wayne conveyed, your brother should be in that cave, but there may be some danger. Wait for me here, don't enter. I will handle it alone. The petite entity, displaying commendable obedience, immediately nodded and replied, okay, Wayne, but be careful, and may the goddess bless you." Having briefed Lala, Wayne retreated a few steps, sought refuge behind a massive rock, assumed a cross-legged posture, and retrieved Swallow Potion, Wolf Potion and Maribor Forest Potion from the magic storage bag. These 3 potions would enhance Wayne's body recovery speed, attack speed and sign speed respectively. Considering the acolyte's relatively weak defense, Wayne opted not to use Thunderbolt to boost his strength. Instead, he chose to capitalize on his advantage of fast attack speed, aiming to inflict lethal damage in a short duration. After consuming the 3 potions, Wayne sensed a resilience in his body, as if it could endure more toxicity. Contemplating for a moment, he gritted his teeth, retrieved a bottle of cat potion from his storage bag, and downed it in a single gulp. Soon, his eyes turned bloodshot, his surroundings became clearer, and an itching, painful sensation coursed through his blood vessels and muscles. It signaled that the toxicity had reached its limit and couldn't be heightened further. Releasing a deep breath, Wayne endured the discomfort, extracting an invisibility potion and a healing potion from Azeroth within his storage bag. He stowed them in his pocket alongside 7 or 8 alchemy bombs. The unknown number of acolytes in the cave made these bombs and potions crucial for his survival. With preparations complete, Wayne concealed the steel sword behind the stone, took a deep breath, unsheathed the master silver sword, kicked off the ground, lowered his body, and, under the cover of weeds, rapidly charged toward the acolytes guarding the cave entrance. The creatures, standing between 1.2 to 1.4 meters in height, were caught off guard by the unexpected assault. Before they could react, the 3 acolytes nearest to Wayne succumbed to his piercing sword strikes. Their heads were severed by the sharp silver blade. Simultaneously, Wayne observed that these acolytes were significantly weaker than normal human males. Despite having limbs, the structure of their joints rendered them less flexible than humans. Yet, their bodies were covered in a dense layer of fish-like scales, providing some resistance to the silver sword's cuts, akin to wearing a layer of leather armor. After swiftly beheading 3 consecutive acolytes, the remaining creatures snapped out of their daze. The fastest among them, a slightly overweight acolyte with only one eye, grabbed a spear and raised it, emitting a strange scream as it thrust toward Wayne's lower abdomen. However, the acolyte's speed was noticeably slower than Wayne's. Before the makeshift spear, crafted from fishbone, could reach its target, Wayne's silver sword pierced through the creature's sole remaining fish eye with lightning speed, obliterating its underdeveloped brain. Following the kill, Wayne promptly withdrew his silver sword, twisted his waist, kicked aside the acolyte corpse in front of him, and executed a swift oblique slash at the next acolyte in proximity. The targeted acolyte, exhibiting some fighting experience, raised a rusty iron axe in an attempt to block the attack with the axe's face. Yet, Wayne's speed surpassed the reaction capabilities of these creatures weaker than drowners. Before the acolyte could raise its arm, the sharp sword had already severed half of its body. Foul-smelling blood sprayed, and the fish-like body was cleaved in 2. Wayne, without dodging or hesitating, capitalized on the cover of blood to execute another horizontal cut, cleanly removing the head of the last acolyte at the cave entrance. From the initiation of the attack to the conclusion of the battle, in less than half a minute, 5 acolytes had fallen to Wayne's sword. To be straightforward, with the level 5 swordsmanship blessing, combined with the agility of the cat potion, the natural agility of the half-elf, and the augmentation from the wolf potion, Wayne's attack speed unequivocally placed him in the top echelons of the entire northern kingdom. Dealing with these feeble acolytes, armed with bone spears and wooden sticks and lacking decent armor, was as effortless as cutting through melons and vegetables. Chapter 71, Tentacle Monster. After killing a few acolytes at the entrance, Wayne didn't rush into the cave but waited outside the cave for a few minutes. After confirming that no more acolytes rushed out to support them, he felt a little relieved. This was also because his sword was too fast, and 5 acolytes were killed before they could call for support or even react much. Otherwise, he might face the siege of a dozen or even more acolytes. Wayne wiped off the blood on the silver sword and went to the lake to wash off the stinky blood on his body. After cleaning the blood on him, he slowly entered the cave. Sneaking all the way, his iron boots stepped on the ground, making a slight sound, which was harsh in the cave. It's a pity that he hasn't learned real stealth skills, nor is he a professional assassin. In order to not arouse the vigilance of the acolytes in the cave, the only thing to do is to slow down and use your keen sense of hearing to detect the enemy's movements in advance. The cave is very humid, the walls and roof are covered with moss, and there is no light. It may be because of the proximity to the lake, and there are even traces of accumulated water on the ground. Wayne cautiously advanced tens of meters, but before he found any traces of other, he suddenly found that the water on the ground had reached his ankles, and not far away was a downhill submerged in lake water. Looking at the depth of the lake, if he continued to move forward, there is a high probability that you will directly enter the lake. Seeing this situation, Wayne did not choose to back down, but gritted his teeth, and held in his hand the Hekna talisman presented to him by the druid elder Keenster, and injected a chaotic magic power into it, activating the amulet. As a strange magic power was released from the talisman, a transparent magic shield appeared on the surface of his body about 6 or 7 centimeters away, squeezing out all the lake water close to his body. Only the air that can be breathed in was left, which circulates in the shield. Wayne took a breath of air in the shield. There was no problem. This was the second time he used the Hekna talisman. When he used it for the first time, he just tested its function in the river water and didn't study it in depth. However, he thinks that a generous elder like Keenster would not murder his lifesaver. With a somewhat apprehensive attitude, Wayne put the silver sword back into the scabbard at his waist, took off his chainmail and iron boots, and put them in the storage bag, leaving only a layer of leather armor. Then he took out the crossbow he won from O. Henry from the storage bag, the meteorite dagger, and a dozen crossbow bolts. Underwater combat is no better than on land. Because of the resistance of the water, the exability of many actions is greatly reduced. If you go down wearing iron armor, even with the physical strength of a witcher, it is estimated that you can only sink to the bottom, and long weapons like silver swords will also be severely weakened, but not as easy as daggers and crossbows. After making all the preparations, Wayne no longer hesitated, took a deep breath, and got into the icy lake. The underwater light is still dim, but under the effect of the cat's eye potion, the surrounding environment can still be clearly seen in his eyes. Aquatic plants, rocks, and various underwater creatures swimming around constitute a bizarre landscape. Wayne began to swim through the depths of the cave, closely monitoring for any signs of enemy activity. To his surprise, he encountered no immediate threats but stumbled upon a group of acolytes sleeping underwater. With about a dozen of them resting comfortably. They casually lay their pillows on the rocks under the water, with their stomachs up or their backs exposed, probably not believing that an enemy could enter the waters here to attack them. After thinking for a few seconds, Wayne did not launch a surprise attack but tried to bypass them and move on. Engaging in underwater combat with these monsters was obviously an unwise choice. At this time, the benefits of the Hekna talisman. This talisman not only provides the ability to breathe underwater but also enhance the swimming speed of the holder. Wayne was able to move his body underwater just by maintaining a small swimming posture. After a while of careful manipulation, he swiftly maneuvered past over the heads of those acolytes safely. 7 or 8 minutes later, after passing through an underwater area of hundreds of meters long, as the water level continued to drop, a strange light appeared in front of Wayne. He cautiously swam out of the water and found a more spacious cave space tens of meters away. The cave was treated quite and there were torches hanging on the walls every few tens of meters. Some acolyte guards leaned against the walls and stood by the torches, whether they were awake or asleep. In the center of the cave, there is an altar tens of centimeters above the ground. The corpses of some underwater creatures are randomly piled up on the altar. Judging from the wounds on their bodies, they should have been drained of blood. Seeing this, Wayne frowned and didn't act rashly. Instead, he found a hidden position, climbed back to the ground, and then tried to keep as quiet as possible, and put on the wolf school's armor again. After putting it on, he breathed a sigh of relief. To deal with these acolytes with simple weapons, a chainmail armor with good defense can basically reach the point of reducing fatality. It is difficult for weapons such as bone spears, wooden sticks or rusty irons to break through the defense of metal chainmail. Pulling out the silver sword again, Wayne carefully observed the environment in the cave and then walked carefully against the wall without making too much movement. The purpose of entering here this time is mainly to save Lala's brother, Fitz. The area of the cave is quite large. With the cover of the dark environment, Wayne successfully bypassed the observation range of many guards with his keen observation ability and quietly touched the back of the altar in the cave. There is a smaller cave behind the altar. 6 strong acolytes are guarding the exit. They not only hold iron weapons in their hands but are also equipped with some simple metal armor. They are obviously the elite of the acolytes. In the center of the cave, 8 huge braziers that don't know what kind of grease are stored. Are placed in a circle and are burning. In the center, surrounded by these braziers, a horrifying scene made Wayne gasp. I saw a circular pool about 4 or 5 meters wide, filled with black and red stinky blood, and in the blood, Some ugly, tentacled, octopus-like creatures were swimming in it. In addition, in the center of the blood pool, there are still 6 wooden pillars and 6 humanoid creatures are tied to the pillars with hemp ropes. These humanoid creatures were naked, tied to the pillars and could not move. Basin-sized octopus monsters climbed onto their bodies, and then wrapped their heads with tentacles like face huggers, wriggling slowly, performing some evil rituals, which looked very scary. Judging from their bare skin and structure, there are dwarves, elves, and humans among the 6 people, and one of them has purple skin and a colorful conch hanging around his neck, which immediately caught Wayne's attention. He is probably Lala's brother, Fitz. But looking at his current state, it seems that he has no life or death, and has been tampered with by those tentacle monsters. And it was obviously difficult to rescue him in. Looking at the appearance of those tentacle monsters, Wayne guessed that they should have something to do with the evil god Deon. Chapter 72, Fierce Battle. Wayne cursed inwardly as he observed the eerie scene unfolding before him. He was well aware of the resemblance between the evil god Deon and the tentacled horrors associated with Fulhu. Contemplating his next move amidst the unsettling atmosphere, Wayne suddenly noticed a group of thin acolytes emerging from a crevice in the cave. Unlike their naked counterparts, these slender acolytes donned simple linen shirts and adorned themselves with bone, coral, and pearl ornaments. Their attire suggested a ceremonial significance, perhaps signifying a revered role in acolyte society. The acolytes marched forward, each bearing containers crafted from sea animal bones and filled with fresh blood. Strange little octopuses, no larger than eggs, wriggled within the crimson liquid. Leading the procession was an acolyte distinguished by his hunched posture, bloodshot eyes, and a staff emitting an ominous black light. Most notably, his chin sported 6 black tentacles, which writhed constantly. Taken aback by this unexpected development, Wayne swiftly retreated to his hiding spot, cautiously observing the newly arrived group of acolytes. Within a matter of minutes, the group swiftly approached the blood pool at the center of the altar. Uttering an unknown incantation, they emptied their containers of blood and small octopuses into the pool. With utmost humility, they then arranged themselves in neat rows around the pool, continuing their mysterious chants while bowing deeply. Led by the peculiar acolyte, who wielded a metal staff, the group chanted their incantation rhythmically, the rhythmic thumping of the staff adding an eerie melody to their song. As the chants resonated, the strange octopuses within the blood pool grew increasingly active, tentatively inserting their tentacles into the mouths and noses of 6 bound hostages, causing them to stir and struggle unconsciously. Even from his hiding spot, Wayne felt the unsettling influence of the chants, as if something slimy were tainting his spirit, leaving him in a trance-like state. Realizing the urgency of the situation, he swiftly applied a charged Quen sign to himself before retrieving 3 highly explosive bombs from his pocket. As the fuses ignited, the acolytes, engrossed in their sacrificial ritual, remained unaware of the imminent danger. Their dazed expressions turned to horror as the bombs landed among them, erupting in fiery explosions. Bang, bang, bang. The alchemical bombs obliterated the rows of acolyte priests before they could react, reducing them to mangled corpses. Without hesitation, Wayne rushed to the blood pool, swiftly freeing the 6 hostages from their bindings and removing the tentacles from their faces with his silver sword. Unfortunately, despite Wayne's efforts, the 6 individuals showed no signs of waking up and remained unconscious, tumbling into the blood pool as if in a stupor. However, Wayne had little time to check on their condition. The explosion of the bomb had alerted all the acolyte guards in the cave. Approximately 20 to 30 guards, along with the 6 elite acolytes, were roused from their slumber, emitting strange shrieks as they charged toward Wayne in a frenzy. In the midst of the chaos, Wayne caught sight of the special acolyte, the one with tentacles sprouting from its chin, miraculously surviving the blast. Despite its mutilated state, it rose to its feet, wielding a unique metal staff and issuing commands to the other acolyte. With no time to strategize, Wayne took a deep breath, gripping his silver sword tightly as he lunged towards the special acolyte with remarkable speed. As the saying goes, capture the thief first. A team with a command and a mob without a command are 2 different concepts. In any case, it is definitely the right choice to kill this acolyte who seems to have the highest status. Unexpectedly, seeing Wayne rushing towards it, the special acolyte didn't panic at all. It hit the ground heavily with the staff in its hand, unleashing a strange power that caused the nearby acolyte priest corpses to explode into a gruesome shower of flesh and blood. As the blood and gore splattered around the special acolyte, it transformed into a grotesque figure, encased in a layer of sticky flesh and blood armor, expanding its figure to nearly 2 meters. Seeing this, Wayne narrowed his eyes, his thoughts turned sharply, and he immediately had an idea. He stopped 7 or 8 meters away from the special acolyte. He reached out and took out 2 alchemy bombs filled with silver-white liquid from his pocket. Without thinking, he threw them towards the special acolyte. The special acolyte also seemed to have sensed the danger, and immediately waved its flesh and blood arms and slapped the 2 bombs in the air. Bang! Bang! There were 2 dull blasting sounds, and as soon as it came into contact, the silver-white alchemy bomb exploded in the hand of the acolyte. Accompanied by the low temperature and hoarfrost, an extremely cold breath instantly enveloped an area several meters wide, including the acolyte's arm and body, as well as its flesh and blood armor, all covered with a layer of hard frost in a very short time. This is the North Wind Bomb, a special alchemy bomb developed by the Witcher. It can freeze enemies within a very short period of time. It is expensive to make, but it is extremely effective against those with flesh and blood. And at the moment when the special acolyte was frozen, Wayne did not hesitate at all, and instantly condensed a charged art sign in his left hand, and his body immediately rushed in front of it. As his palm pushed forward violently, an extremely swift shock wave directly shook the armor of the special acolyte. In the sound of ice shattering, together with the body of the acolyte, the entire armor was broken into fist-sized ice cubes, and was shaken into pieces by art sign. With a bang, the metal staff that lost its owner was also sent flying several meters, and hit the ground with a bang. The sound was quite ear-piercing. And those acolytes who rushed towards Wayne seemed to be shocked by Wayne's violent killing method, and even the indomitable momentum of the acolyte group was weakened a bit. Despite the enemy's hesitation, Wayne's movements did not stop at all. Before the group could fully surround him, he swiftly chose a direction and charged forward, brandishing his silver sword. Employing a strategy of trading injuries for lives, Wayne deftly dodged the acolytes' powerful attacks, allowing their ordinary strikes to glance off his armor and Quen shield. Meanwhile, his silver sword struck swiftly, harvesting the lives of the acolytes with each swing. With a combination of slashes, stabs, and augmented by the power of Quen sign, Wayne swiftly dispatched the siege of more than a dozen acolytes, reducing them to scattered corpses. After approximately 10 minutes of relentless combat, during which over 30 acolytes fell to Wayne's blade, even the dim-witted acolytes began to understand the concepts of fear and invincibility. With their morale shattered and lacking the guidance of their priest, they turned and fled the cave in disarray, resembling a panicked mob. Only Wayne was left supporting the ground with his silver sword, letting the stinky blood and pieces of meat drip on the ground, panting and standing among the corpses, looking down at their fleeing backs. Chapter 73, Invitation of the Goddess of the Lake. With the acolytes having fled the scene, Wayne found himself unable to maintain his tense state any longer. He half-kneeled on the ground, feeling somewhat limp, as his body, concealed beneath the armor, sent out painful signals. Trading an injury for a life tactic he employed during the battle had proven effective, allowing him to evade the acolyte's siege. However, it also resulted in more than a dozen bruises and cuts on his body. The high-intensity battle had nearly depleted his physical strength within just 10 minutes. After about 5 minutes of resting on the ground, Wayne's body began to recover slightly from the effects of the swallow potion. He rose to his feet and made his way towards the blood pool altar in the depths of the cave. Passing by the corpse of a special acolyte, he retrieved the strange staff forged from an unknown metal and stowed it in his storage bag. Upon reaching the blood pool, Wayne observed the weird-looking octopuses still rolling in the blood. The 6 hostages remained seated in the pool, leaning on wooden stakes, still unconscious. Wayne approached to check their pulse and breathing. Despite their weakness, he confirmed that they were still alive. However, upon closer inspection of their faces, Wayne was horrified to discover that many small octopus tentacles had sprouted from their jaws. Though not yet reaching the length seen on the special acolyte, these tentacles appeared to have caused permanent changes to both the bone structure and flesh of the hostages, likely as a result of the strange ritual they had undergone. This kind of weird thing made Wayne very worried, and he couldn't help but think of horror movie plots such as evil gods descending and looking for flesh. Perhaps like the aliens, there are already heirs of evil gods conceived in the bodies of these hostages, waiting for the time to break out when the time is ripe. Concerned, Wayne retrieved Fitz from the blood pool. Fitz lay unconscious, his dilated pupils indicating his state of unconsciousness. He put the little guy into the cold water in the puddle beside him, letting the cold liquid cover his body, but unfortunately, there was still no sign of waking up. Witnessing Fitz's continued unconscious state, Wayne felt a pang of distress. While the acolytes had likely fled the cave, they must go through the underwater passage that is hundreds of meters long. Wayne could still get through there himself with the talisman, but trying to get through with a few comatose, completely immobile people was just a dream. Moreover, leaving the hostages behind in their current state didn't sit well with Wayne. Wayne had no choice but to look for other exits in the cave. Unfortunately, after searching for half an hour, he couldn't find the exit. Instead, he found a lot of pearls and corals as trophies to make up for the loss of his alchemy bombs. And the hostages were still unable to wake up, which made Wayne quite entangled. Just when he didn't know how to act and was in a dilemma, accompanied by 3 small footsteps, a familiar voice suddenly entered his ears. "Wayne, are you all right?" the voice inquired. "I brought my father and mother to find you." Turning his head, Wayne saw 3 godlings of varying heights, clad in simple fur clothing, approaching him. Among them, the youngest, Lala, appeared particularly anxious as she trailed behind the 2 older godlings. Upon spotting Wayne, her eyes immediately lit up with excitement, and she seemed eager to rush over, but another female godling held her back. Wayne smiled warmly at Lala before turning his attention to the 2 older godlings accompanying her. Despite their smaller appearance, the 2 exuded an air of elder wisdom. The male godling, noticeably more mature, stood at about 1.2 meters tall with a black and white beard adorning his chin. Holding a wand crafted from unknown animal bones, he nodded respectfully at Wayne. "Wayne, thank you for taking care of my daughter Lala and thank you for the adventure you took to save my son Fitz. My name is Cruz, and I'm the father of Lala and Fitz. I heard that witchers must receive corresponding rewards for entrusting them a commission. After this incident, I will definitely pay you a satisfactory reward." After saying this, he looked back at his wife and daughter who were anxious, then looked at Wayne again, paused for a second, and asked. "Depending on the situation, you have already killed the acolyte priest here. I wonder how my child Fitz is doing now." Wayne nodded to Cruz, pointed to the blood pool altar behind, and said truthfully. "Cruz, I don't know the specific situation. When I arrived here, including your son Fitz, a total of 6 hostages were tied up in the blood pool altar, and they were performing an evil ritual. Although I killed the acolytes here, I don't know their knowledge, and I can't wake up your son. However, no matter what, it's best to take these people out of the cave first. This is the territory of the acolytes. If we stay here for too long, we might be attacked by those acolytes." Hearing this, Cruz looked at the direction Wayne was pointing at, and his expression returned to anxiety. He nodded at Wayne, said nothing more, and immediately took his wife and Lala, trotting towards the location of the blood pool. To Wayne's surprise, this little male godling, Cruz, was actually quite a powerful spellcaster. Although he couldn't wake up his son Fitz and others, he was able to use magic spells, levitation, and underwater breathing to solve the difficulty that Wayne couldn't take them out of the water before. However, after all, there were still too many people who needed to be rescued. Wayne protected their safety all the way, and it took more than an hour to escort the godling family and the hostages who had not yet awakened to the location of the Fisher King. When he arrived near the boat, the Fisher King was still sitting on the rock, with the corpses of several acolytes lying beside him. Seeing such a large group of people coming, he turned his head to look at his own boat again, but he couldn't able to say anything. Angela, Lala's mother who had been taking care of her son in the group, suddenly walked to the shore, took out a green leaf from her clothes, and blew a melody out of her mouth. Tens of seconds later, a huge sea turtle with a body length of 7 or 8 meters suddenly crawled out from the bottom of the lake. After seeing the giant sea turtle, Lala clapped her hands excitedly, and said to Wayne, "This is my mother's friend, Mandu." After the giant sea turtle climbed ashore, he talked to Angela in an unknown language, then crawled down and let Lala's father, Cruz, transfer the 6 people, including Fitz, onto his back. After completing the rescue operation, Cruz looked back at Wayne. Casting spells for such a long time made the godling exhausted. He nodded to the witcher and asked, "Wayne, I must urgently bring my child home to use the power of the goddess altar to lift the curse. As for the other 5 individuals, I lack the ability to rescue them. I can only transport them temporarily back to the vicinity of Marsh Village and return them to human hands. Is this acceptable?" Wayne, understanding the limitations and the urgency of Cruz's situation, nodded in agreement. With no clear solution to the evil god's ritual, saving them from the Murloc's lair was a kindness in itself. The fate of these individuals rested on their own luck. As they discussed the next steps and prepared to depart from Blackturn Island, the Fisher King, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke in a hoarse voice. "Wayne, Lala, and the cursed Fitz, the goddess invite you to meet her. She hopes I will take you to her. Wayne was surprised by the invitation. He hadn't anticipated being summoned by the legendary goddess of the lake that very night. Cruz, despite his earlier sadness, displayed immediate excitement and joy at the prospect of the goddess wanting to see his daughter and son. Excellent! If the lady goddess is willing to bestow her favor, my son Fitz will surely be safe and sound, Cruz exclaimed enthusiastically. Noting Wayne's hesitation, Cruz, assuming it stemmed from unfamiliarity with the goddess of the lake, attempted to reassure him. Wayne, the Lady of the Lake is a benevolent and mighty deity who has safeguarded this lake for thousands of years. It is her protection that has prevented this lake from becoming a stronghold for the followers of the evil god Deon. You thwarted the ritual of the evil god Deon today and vanquished his followers. The goddess will assuredly reward you for this deed, Cruz affirmed. Wayne harbored no fear of any sinister intentions from the goddess of the lake. His concern lay more in discerning her intentions. Observing the questioning gaze of the Fisher King, he eventually nodded, agreeing to the invitation. I won't face any harm when meeting such a benevolent and righteous deity, Wayne mused to himself. Ding! Save Godling Fitz was successfully completed. Reward, 48 experience points 1 expert level treasure chest. Chapter 74, The Holy Grail. Seeing Wayne's agreement, the Fisher King wasted no time in idle chatter. He cast a brief glance at the couple, Cruz and Angela, then grabbed a hatchet and strode purposefully towards the center of Blackturn Island. Cruz, with an apologetic expression, used his magic to bring his son Fitz to Wayne, bowing respectfully as he spoke, Excuse me, Wayne, please take my child to meet the goddess. I trust that Our Lady Goddess will surely lift his curse. Wayne turned to observe Lala, who was brimming with excitement and nervousness at the prospect of meeting the goddess in person. Recognizing that her petite frame couldn't bear the weight of her brother, he nodded in understanding. Lifting Fitz, now clad in a fur coat, onto his shoulders, he joined Lala, following the lead of the Fisher King. The time was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and as they traversed Blackturn Island, the only sounds were the chirping of insects and occasional distant calls of wild animals. Understanding the character of the Fisher King, Wayne refrained from engaging in conversation. Instead, he noticed Lala, struggling to keep up with her short legs, and lifted her into his arms to ensure she wouldn't lag behind. With wide, shining eyes, Lala expressed her gratitude to Wayne before nervously glancing at the Fisher King ahead. She seemed fearful of losing the opportunity to meet the goddess if the old man were to disappear suddenly. Obviously, being able to meet the goddess of the lake is a very meaningful thing for her. In the dark of night, the group of 4 journeyed for about half an hour under the guidance of the Fisher King. They traversed fields, entered the forest, and finally halted at the depths of the woods beside a picturesque and pristine small lake. The scene before them was breathtakingly beautiful. The lake, surrounded by lush vegetation and rocky outcrops, shimmered with crystal clarity. Fish gracefully swam beneath the surface, while gentle creatures like deer and rabbits came to drink from its tranquil shores. Under the cold moonlight, the lake's surface glimmered with a hazy luminescence, reflecting the ethereal beauty of the surrounding landscape like a scene from a fairy tale. Silent and reverent, the Fisher King knelt on one knee at the water's edge, bowing his head in silent prayer. Moments later, the stillness of the lake was broken as its surface rippled, and a vision of unparalleled beauty emerged. Ascending from the water with otherworldly grace, the goddess of the lake appeared, a vision of loveliness, her form veiled in the moonlight. With sky-blue eyes, cascading golden locks, and a serene smile, she seemed like a mythical being incarnate, radiating an aura of divine beauty. Despite her nakedness, there was no hint of desire in Wayne's heart as he beheld her. Instead, he felt a profound sense of peace and purity wash over him, soothing his soul and body alike. Approaching Wayne, the goddess gently placed her white jade palm upon the shoulder of the Fitz. With a voice as gentle as a breeze and as soothing as rain, she softly intoned a spell. In an instant, an unseen force lifted Fitz from Wayne's shoulder, causing the cursed child to levitate and slowly descend into the clear waters of the lake. As he submerged, a subtle purification seemed to wash over him, causing his body to tremble and expel dark substances into the water, as if some malevolent force were being purged from his being, dissolving into the depths of the lake. The pollution ritual of the evil god Dagon corrupts its heirs, infusing their bodies with seeds of darkness to taint their souls and enslave them, spoke the goddess's voice, resonating like the sweet melodies of a forest dawn. Wayne lifted his gaze to meet her clear, otherworldly eyes, contemplating her words before posing his question. Your Majesty, may I inquire as to why you have summoned me here? Wayne queried, his voice laced with curiosity. A gentle smile graced the goddess's divine countenance as she met Wayne's gaze. "Warrior, you aided my followers in vanquishing the priests of the evil god Dagon, disrupting its vile rituals and severing its minions. It is a noble deed worthy of reward," she responded softly. "Yet unbeknownst to you, the eyes of the malevolent god have been upon you, leaving a dark mark on your body. Once you get close to the sea and the area it controls, you will suffer endless revenge from the evil god," she continued, her tone grave with warning. With a graceful gesture, the goddess extended her slender white jade palm, summoning forth a golden chalice adorned with 12 magnificent gemstones. Held aloft before her, the chalice exuded a captivating fragrance from its contents. Handing the Holy Grail to Wayne, the goddess spoke tenderly, "Your virtuous deeds should not be met with the vengeance of malevolent gods. Warrior, drink the holy water. It shall cleanse the mark of the evil god from your body, mend the wounds within, and fortify your being. This is my reward to you," she concluded, her words imbued with solemn benevolence. As Wayne beheld the legendary Holy Grail and its sacred contents, an overwhelming desire surged within him, signaling his body's recognition of the profound benefits held within the cup's liquid. However, Wayne was a little hesitant in his heart. Although the goddess of the lake is a kind and noble god in the legend, would it be too imprudent to accept the gift from the god at will? But soon, Wayne dismissed this idea. He is just a new witcher. Although he has a little strength, he is definitely not tyrannical. Compared with those powerful mages who can call wind and rain and move mountains and seas, he can only be called an advanced thug. For a goddess who has lived for thousands of years, there is no need to use conspiracy to murder him. Perhaps this goddess is also a smart person who knows how to invest. She saw his potential and invested in him in advance. Thinking of this, Wayne respectfully took the Holy Grail with both hands, smelled the fragrant holy water in the Holy Grail, slowly raised the Holy Grail, and drank it down as if drinking a peerless wine. When the liquid in the Holy Grail entered his body, Wayne only felt a warm current like the fire, entering the body along his throat, and then slowly spreading to all parts of the body. He couldn't help closing his eyes, feeling a sense of comfort that he had never experienced before, as if every limb had a chance to regenerate, and all the cells in his body gave out a satisfied sound. Maybe it was a few minutes. When Wayne opened his eyes again, he instantly felt that his senses were also strengthened. Whether it was hearing, smell, touch, or vision, the whole world seemed to become clearer. He couldn't help but look at the system interface in his mind, and then he couldn't help but gasp. He didn't expect that just drinking a cup of holy water, he would get a huge increase in all attributes by 5. And just as the goddess said, Wayne could clearly perceive that his body, which suffered various hidden damages during the grass trial period, seemed to have been repaired to some extent under the action of the holy water, and his body genes had become more perfect. In terms of physical fitness, he was not as good as Gerald, Lambert, and Eskel, who were seasoned witchers, and only relying on the benefits of the system, he could barely fight them. Now, Wayne can be sure that even if he doesn't rely on the system, his physical strength is almost the same as those old witchers from the Wolf School. Wayne respectfully handed the Holy Grail back to the goddess of the lake, and couldn't help feeling grateful for this generous and kind god. To be honest, this commission to exterminate the acolyte's lair was nothing but an ordinary task for him, and even the task level was only at the expert level, so it wasn't too difficult at all. But I didn't expect that I could get such a generous gift, and I felt like I had won a big prize. Wayne felt that he must not forget this kindness in the future, and must find an opportunity to repay the help of the goddess to him. Chapter 75, The First Master Task. Thank you for your gift, Your Majesty the Goddess. Facing Wayne's thanks, the goddess of the lake showed a smile and said in a melodious voice, "There is no need to be polite, warrior, this is a reward for your bravery against the evil god. It is precisely because there are warriors like you in the world that the plot of the evil god has not succeeded." Wayne's tone was sincere, and he really thanked the goddess sincerely. The holy water healed the hidden wounds in his body, not to mention other hidden benefits, just his physical strength was improved by adding 5 points to all attributes, which was almost equivalent to the effect he could only achieve by upgrading 5 levels. The physical strength of witchers is basically fixed after they complete the various trials during their apprenticeship period, and there will be no further growth. What can make them grow again, apart from the system like Wayne's, is the second mutation experiment hidden in the Toussaint ruins, which can help them go further. It can be said that being able to drink the holy water of the goddess of the lake can greatly improve his strength. This kind of thing has only been heard in legends. It must be a very rare blessing. Perhaps, the biggest enemy that the goddess of the lake wants to deal with at present is the evil god Dagon who is occupying her waters, so she values him so much and is willing to help him in dealing with the evil god. Wayne pondered for a few seconds and realized he could leverage his identity as a witcher to gain greater benefits from the goddess. He bowed his head slightly in tribute to the goddess and spoke loudly, "Your Majesty, you may already know that I am a witcher. Our main job is to accept commissions and eradicate those monsters that endanger life. Obviously, the so-called evil god Dagon is such an evil thing that needs to be eradicated. If you are willing to entrust me to eradicate this evil thing, then this evil god Dagon will become my enemy. Although I may not be able to deal with it for the time being, I believe that one day in the future, I will be able to eradicate it completely." The goddess of the lake seemed surprised by Wayne's words, but then a beautiful smile appeared on her face. She looked into Wayne's eyes with a hazy gaze, opened her red lips slightly, and said, "I've heard about the rules of conduct of your wolf school witchers, but I never thought that you would be willing to take risks against an evil god. This is a very dangerous commission. You may have to sacrifice your life in this, warrior. I hope you will consider it carefully." Noticing that the goddess of the lake did not reject his proposal, but only asked him to consider it carefully, Wayne understood that there was merit to his proposition. He responded in a more determined tone, "I've thought it through very clearly, Your Excellency. As a witcher, I'm not afraid of danger. As long as the reward is right, I'm willing to undertake more meaningful commissions." Upon hearing these words, the goddess's eyes flickered, and her voice sounded more joyful. She stretched out her white and slender palm, caressed Wayne's face, and said, "Your noble courage delights me, champion. If you can help me defeat the evil god Dagon, I will definitely not disappoint my warriors, and I will definitely reward you generously," stated the goddess of the lake. As the voice of the goddess of the lake fell, Wayne also heard the expected system prompt. Ding! Task trigger. Defeat evil god Dagon master level. Accept/decline. As expected, it was a master level task. Wayne was overjoyed and immediately chose to accept it. Anyway, the task he received has no time limit, even if he completes the task 10 years later, his reward will not be reduced. But soon, Wayne noticed another problem. The task name on the system showed defeating the evil god Dagon, not destroying the evil god Dagon. And even defeating the evil god Dagon is a master-level task. Obviously, this evil god who can be regarded as an enemy by the goddess of the lake is not an inconspicuous little boss like in the game. However, this is not something he has to consider now. Before his strength is strong enough, he will not take the liberty to challenge the evil god Dagon. In that case, Your Excellency, I accept this commission. But no matter when this promise will be fulfilled, the current Wayne looks resolute, quite a kind of heroism and generosity of ancient warriors when they crusade against demons, and they are not afraid of death. It made the eyes of the little guy on the side shine brightly, that little expression of admiration looked quite ugly and cute. The goddess of the lake also seemed to be infected by Wayne's aura, with a heartwarming smile on her face. She wrapped her long hair around her fair fingers a few times, and then tore off that strand of her hair. As the goddess handed Wayne the strand of her hair, it transformed into a golden ring. With a smile, she said, "I'm eager to see what you'll accomplish, warrior. Consider this ring as a gift and blessing to you. Wear it, and you'll be shielded from curses and diseases, while good luck follows you. Should you ever need my assistance, simply place this ring in the lake and call out to me, I'll be there." Wayne accepted the ring with gratitude, placing it on his right pinky finger under the goddess's watchful gaze. With nothing more to add, the goddess turned her attention to Lala beside Wayne. She reached out, stroking Lala's head gently, and said, "Lala, you'll stay here for now. You've got a knack for magic, and during this time, I'll teach you a thing or two." Excitedly, Lala nodded, responding, "No problem, Lady Goddess. I'll happily learn from you." It was evident that the goddess had taken a liking to Lala, evident from the colorful conch she gifted her. With warmth in her voice, she said, "Lala, you seem exhausted. Rest for now, and we'll begin our lessons once you wake up." Feeling the weariness settle in, Lala yawned and nodded in agreement, finding a cozy spot by the lake to settle down and sleep. Seeing this scene, Wayne also knew that it was time to say goodbye. He bowed slightly to the goddess and then said softly under the gaze of the lady, "Your Majesty, it's already late. Please allow me to take my leave temporarily. I will keep the crusade against the evil god Dagon in mind. Once I have the opportunity, I will deal with this evil force until I complete your commission." The goddess of the lake nodded gently, then leaned over and kissed Wayne's forehead, and said with a smile. I await good news from you, young warrior. But please also pay attention to safety. We all have a long lifespan and have enough time to deal with this matter. Don't be too impulsive. Wayne nodded respectfully, then looked at the goddess with admiring eyes for a few seconds, then turned and left the forest. Until his figure completely disappeared, the Fisher King, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke and said, Goddess, I don't quite understand why you gave the water of the Holy Grail to this young witcher, because the holy water is so precious. The achievements he has made cannot match such glory. The goddess of the lake was silent for a second or two, and then said in her ethereal and moving voice, This young witcher is also a child of destiny. His every move affects the future of the world. Unlike ordinary people with predetermined destiny, his destiny is full of uncertainty. Although I can't see his fate clearly, I believe that if he feels more kindness in his life, in the future, he will also give this happiness to other people in the world.
Thanks for listening.